You never seen a white person before. Jaws all on the floor like Pam, like Tommy just burst in the door.
Can you feel it? Wake up to today's quest with Annie on Today 95.1 FM from 6 to 11 a.m. weekdays. Fantastic.
Radio has never been this good, and it's just a fantastic way to start radio every morning. Of course, what played earlier was Slim Shady by Eminem, and that song came out, I think in 2000, because I mean, it suddenly just threw me right back to 2000. I was almost busting the moves right here in the studio. Emmanuel Lindugu said he caught me trying to move. Well, I think it was trying to move because I'm not sure. I quite remember the dance steps, but that was Slim Shady by Eminem. And I just had to play that because yesterday, part of the conversation we had during the Today's Quest program was speaking on Slim Shady and asking in his song where he said the real Slim Shady should stand up. And we're talking about Abba Carey and Buhari and Mongonu and all of that and the issues that have been coming up concerning who really is in the presidency. Now, not that Manuel and I are hinting on anything. We're just going with the trend of what the papers are saying. But let me just quickly do say here, you do have a president. I have a president, and his name is President Muhammadu Buhari. So in the interim, all you other Slim Shadys can just take a back seat. Welcome to the show. I am Annie. And speaking about Slim Shady, man, the president is actually slim. Just
yes, after the trip to UK, he's no longer slim.
He got chubby a bit. Welcome to the show. Today's Quest kicks off. It did start off earlier on by 6 a.m., but the segment now is the newspaper review. The newspaper review will be going through some captions here. Let's see if we can start with I wanted to see if I could start with the Nation newspaper. I just remember I haven't been able to read the Nation in quite a while. We could get the Nation newspaper or This Day. Let's see if we can get stories from them. Okay, let's get started. Now, in the Nation newspaper this morning, we have a caption here that reads, reps move to stave off Boko Haram attacks. That story is in the Nation newspaper this morning. Reps move to stave off Boko Haram attacks. And we are winning a war against corruption, Buhari speaks. That story is also in the Nation newspaper. We are winning the war against corruption, Buhari. And then also in the Nation newspaper this morning, you have here visa ban on Nigeria temporary, says U.S. envoy. Visa ban on Nigeria temporary, says U.S. envoy. That's also in the Nation newspaper. And then we have here power devolution and land use threatened constitution review. Power devolution and land use threatened constitution review. And FIRS orders deduction of stamp duty, CIT orders from source. FIRS orders deduction of stamp duty and CIT and others from source. Right, all these stories you'll find in the Nation newspaper. All right, so let's just get to the stories proper. And then we have here, we are winning the war against corruption, says Buhari. President Muhammadu Buhari has again declared that his administration was winning the war against corruption in the country. He said the successes recorded so far by anti-graft agencies, especially the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has bolstered Nigeria's international image. Buhari added that his government was poised to use cutting-edge information technology to strengthen their achievements and ensure that no government financial transactions was done in secret. He assured that he would work towards making sure that reforms were deepened in such a way that there will be no hiding place for looters. The president said this on Tuesday in Kaduna at the passing out parade of Detective Inspector Course 5 of the EFCC. Buhari said the fight against corruption is becoming more effective. I make bold to say that Nigeria is winning the war against corruption. We have been working within the frameworks of National Action Plan for Open Government Plan and Partnership, OGP, National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which is an adaptation of United Nations Convention Against Corruption and the Global Forum for Asset Recovery. Several of the reforms have been effective for several years with great impact on revenue and expenditure management. These include the Government Integrated Financial and Management Information Systems, GIFMIS, Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS, Treasury Single Account, and Bank Verification Number. Executive orders such as preservation of suspicious assets connected to corruption, Executive Order 6, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit NFIU Act 2 2018, and Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters Act 2018 have been operating for a few years and effectively limiting system opportunities for corrupt practices. Emmanuel Ndukwe, good morning.
Good morning, Annie. Good morning, Nigeria. If the president is saying they are winning the war against corruption, who is there to argue? I tell you. But physically, what we are saying is that, of course, in recent times, CFCC has started winning its cases. But they've not won enough to stamp it that the war against corruption is being won by the administration. Yes, for arrays of programs that could inhibit corrupt practices. Yes, I think if it's on that class, the administration is tops. Absolutely. But to say that with all those things, it has maybe galvanized Nigeria into winning the war against corruption, I do not see it that way. Because I think they were talking about what is it IPIS or whatever, the one they are having problems with lecturers. IPIS also.
Yes.
That it was generating good
yes.
IPPIS. It was generating problem because of how they implemented it and all that. When something is meant to checkmate corruption, while it makes it somehow blossom, I don't think it's a win. It's not. So I think the president should do more. That's all. But one will not be stunned at hearing his comment because it was at where the EFCC was maybe graduating or so.
Oh, exactly. There was an event.
So he certainly must say what will please the EFCC to do more. That's it.
All right. Well, you have that story in this day newspaper. You have, we are winning war against corruption, says Buhari. Okay. You know, I see all these policies and actions as he stipulated. They're quite all right. Yes, there's the BVN, I beg your pardon. There's the IPPIS, there's the GIFMIS, there's all of that. And of course, the NFIU Act.
Yeah.
But I think for plenty Nigerians is how that has really turned around their lives. If we're able to stave off all the money that is supposedly siphoned through this means, where's that money going to and how is it impacting our lives? Because you're hearing that we're saving this much money, we're able to curtail the shortcuts here, and then you're wondering why are we still going or borrowing these huge amounts of money, and why is it that we're not seeing the necessary changes that this newfound money, so to say, should cause in our lives as ordinary Nigerians? Is it too early? I mean, should these things take a while?
No,
perhaps?
It's not too early. I tell you, some of them is as old as the administration, and it mustn't be 10 years before the administration will do anything that will be impactful on the lives of Nigerians. It's just similar to the border closure. Yeah, you are reckoning this amount of money and all that to maybe keeping it at the center to run your business. And then how has that trickled down to changing the lives of Nigerians who were shortchanged by all these borders here and there? So for me, like I said, that you have an array of programs that could inhibit corruption does not in itself mean a win.
All right. Well, that is a story you find in the This the newspaper. So moving on, there's another story here that has a caption: Power devolution and land use threatening constitution review. Story here reads: indications have emerged that the usual suspicion that trails attempts to amend the constitution will also dog the way the Omo Agege Constitution Review Panel goes. Some senators on Tuesday listed formidable obstacles to the plan to tinker with the Constitution. The senators expressed concern over the possibility that these predictable constraints may thwart the proposed amendment, owing to the contrasting perception of the items by lawmakers from diverse zones. The senators said the thorny issues include the lack of consensus on the Land Use Act and the devolution of power, which may unsettle the fifth alterations of the 1999 Constitution. Senate President Ahmed Lawan inaugurated the 56-member Constitution Review Panel on February 12th with Deputy Senate President Ovie Omo Agege as the chairman. Although no date has been fixed for the commencement of the exercise, sources said members of the committee were planning to bring to the front burner certain issues and items dear to them. It was also gathered that some senators have initiated consultations with opinion leaders in their states and regions for their input. A member of the committee listed the Land Use Act and the devolution of powers to states as some of the items that may unsettle the Constitution Amendment if not handled carefully. He said information available to the committee suggested that some members of the Senate and House of Representatives, apparently on the prompting of highly placed individuals, were working to tinker with the Land Use Act in favor of the federal government. The senator, who spoke on condition of anonymity, added the scheme of those behind the plot is to amend the Land Use Act to place all land in the country under the federal government, contrary to the provisions of the Act, which places the land under the control of governors. The 18th National Assembly, under the fourth alteration, failed to pass the proposed amendment, which sought the deletion of the Land Use Act from the Constitution. Bill number 32 of 2017, deletion of the Land Use Act from the Constitution, sought to alter the 1999 Constitution to delete the Land Use Act from the Constitution so that it can be subject to the regular process of amendment. The lawmakers rejected the proposal. The source said it appears that some people with vested interest this time around are determined to push the alteration in the Constitution to empower the federal government to take charge of land matters in the country. The contentious devolution of power to states, the source noted that some people regard it as a no-go area and should be left as it is in the Constitution. He said those opposed to the devolution of power feel that it is restructuring through the back door. So that means in any which way, restructuring is a no, whether it's coming through the front door or back door, hence devolution. That is also a no for some people, well, according to the source speaking to the Nation newspaper.
Unfortunately, when the federal government is afraid of restructuring openly, they are maybe secretly pandering to restructuring. Because even all the measures is introduced to fight corruption, they are restructuring. You see, some of these things I do not understand why they look at the Land Use Act. That particular person that submitted the bill that should see it removed from the Constitution is whoever that has the interest of Nigeria at heart. It is a very inhibiting factor, the Land Use Act. And you know that if land were placed at the power or the mercy of federal government, they would have used that for Ruga. And you have nothing to say. But now that it's in the power of the governors, they cannot violate the Constitution openly. So now, federal government, because lobbying is allowed in government.
Indeed.
So what they will be doing is to make sure that the principal officers, and especially those who will be as members of the Constitution Review Committee, should be lobbied so that they will put it in their place to be dictating on lands. And if that happens, that means anything at all will be forced or maybe pass through the throat of Nigerians. And there's nothing anybody can do because that's what the law of the land stipulates. So for me, I know from the beginning, now talk about resource control, talk about this and all of them, they are real uphill tasks. the way federal government is looking at this thing, for them, the maximum power they are enjoying, they want it to remain. And if you look for a way to remove some of them, you are on your own. And if you are going for lobbying, I don't think states will have more money to lobby than federal government. So let's just look at it. When they finish, like others had finished before them, wherever they end, we take it that
It's
way.
a complete shame, really. There are already hints at the fact that this will not run through. Then what would you tinker with in the Constitution, really? Because I think these were the major areas lots of Nigerians were hoping to
and
see
will
certain
always
changes.
remain major areas.
So if you're going there, you're just going to juggle a few minor issues and leaving the elephant in the room. I don't think that's a constitutional adjustment or review being done properly.
No, it's not. But that's not the issue. So long as what they are going to do is that they'll be able to soften the heart of these people to be on their side. Now, the question will be, now, if the 56 and then let's say 30 are in support of federal government, that settles
That settles it. And I'm wondering, why is it so difficult, really, for our lawmakers to, for once, just say, I'm going to do as my people desire, my constituents, what it is that they want is what I will deliver. And that it's not money after all. But I know it's very, it's rather difficult to look at possible amount of money that might be used to lobby them, if that is indeed what goes on, and for them to, give a blind eye to it. But for once, really, the people of Nigeria just want to know that there's someone fighting for them, there's someone in their corner too.
You see, Anne, when we talk about people, anything government, as far as Nigeria is concerned, they are not interested in knowing about what people want.
Nope.
Now, you see, Nigeria is run on a egocentric line, not on altruistic lines. Those who have managed to be, of course, elected by the people, as soon as you go there, you change. What you are looking for is your pocket. So once Ghana must go, should they change hands, should such thing happen,
That's it.
that settles it for individual, and that person wants to be richer than those that sent it.
All right, let's move on. FIRS orders deduction of stamp duty, CIT, others from source. It says here that there is no more hiding place for government contractors in the payment of stamp duty, withholding tax, and company income tax. Revenue collecting agencies are to deduct stamp duty, withholding tax, and CIT from their contractors at the point of payment and promptly send those to the Federal Inland Revenue Service in lump sum, rather than staggered payments as it is in the current practice. Mohammed Nami said in Lagos on Tuesday. The FIRS chairman said, "This is better for everybody, as we'll have to do less reconciliation and enforcement activities, and we can therefore use the saved time to expand the tax net." Nami spoke during a visit to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu at the Lagos State House at Alausa, Ikeja. He said some multinational companies operating in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial hub, have not been paying CIT since 2011. Nami said tax evading firms will be tracked down and put in the tax net. He said a number of multinational companies operating in Lagos State have not paid CIT since 2011, as they appear to have perfected the illicit act of profit shifting to escape paying tax. The FIRS and the Lagos State government need to collaborate to map out strategies to tax these tax evading companies whose goods and services we all consume or patronize, and who also use public infrastructure to do their business, but yet repatriate their profit home. So they're tracking down multinationals who have been evading tax, and they said, as a matter of fact, what we'll do is that we'll take, going forward, we'll be taking these things from point of payment, since government contractors in the payment of stamp duties and withholding tax and company income will be done during point of payment. Revenue collecting agencies are to deduct this from source before perhaps their monies are handed over to them.
I think that would be the best way. For instead of federal government to be having an uphill task, demanding the money and all that anytime because of the staggered system they are using in payment.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to take it as source. And let's see the hiding place for them, which I think there will be none.
Okay, let's hope so. I think that's about the stories we have from the Nation newspaper. Let's quickly move on to the Guardian. Nigeria loses 270 billion naira to palm oil import in 3 years. Nigeria loses 270 billion naira to palm oil import in 3 years. How British Airways abandoned over 300 Nigerians in Accra. How British Airways abandoned over 300 Nigerians in Accra. And also in the Guardian newspaper, there's a caption here that says Constitution Review Agenda for Omar Agege panel. That's in the Guardian newspaper. Also in the Guardian, we have here task before Diri by Elson's expectations as a new dawn beckons. Task before Diri by Elson's expectations as new dawn beckons. And the endangered Nigeria's youth and other stories. You find that also in the Guardian newspaper. So let's quickly go to that. Constitutional review, the task before the Omar Agege panel, or agenda rather, before the Omar Agege panel. That's in the Guardian newspaper. And a bit of that story here reads, penultimate Thursday, the Senate embarked on a fresh attempt to review the 1999 Constitution with a composition of 56-member committee by the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan. The committee, chaired by the Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omar Agege, comprises 6 principal officers who would serve as steering subcommittees within the larger committee, a senator from each of the 36 states of the Federation and 2 senators each from the 6 geopolitical zones. The committee is expected to amend the Constitution in a way that the provisions will enhance national unity and be the solid foundation Nigerians could stand on to realize their dreams. What is expected of you is to give Nigerians a constitution that will enhance stability, unity, and enabling environment that will afford every Nigerian to actualize his or her dream without let or hindrance. Lawan charge members. Now, I'm just going to take a cue from that part there, Mano, and juxtapose it with the other that looked at the land use act and was seeking. Well, the source was telling the Nation newspaper that there are plans that they might review the Constitution to allow federal government have power over the Land Use Act, so that all land, of course, will be under the jurisdiction of the federal government. And I'm wondering how that in itself could propose a Nigeria that will enhance stability and unity and an enabling environment that will afford every Nigerian to actualize his or her dream without let or hindrance, if the land, for say, belongs to the federal government. And perhaps I want to do something. Imagine the process I need to go to before federal government perhaps can allow me to use the set land for whatever it is I desire to. How does that in any way make me feel empowered? How ensure that I'm able to actualize my dreams in the land I call home?
No, the question you're asking is very germane. But the fact remains that whatever federal government decides in this nation is what they assume to be in the interest of the nation. That is how Nigeria is.
No, of course, indeed.
Good. But you know that some of their decisions may be antagonistic to the populace. And so what we are asking now is that, for instance, the rigors of getting a land, for instance,
Yes,
to use for whatever, will be even encumbrance. Now, you are not asking this question, but for them, whatever federal government has come up is going to be better than the states. And that is the prism through which they are looking at it. But I want to say that the Land Use Act is what more or less has drawn back Nigeria. But I tell you, lobbying is an essential part of constitutional review and governance. The federal government, which are in contest of lobbying, federal government will lobby better.
All right.
And whatever reasons, well, you know.
Fem, if you're Haga Joyce, this is a political analyst. Good to have you here.
Yeah. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning to everybody there.
Well, Lawan is saying the need to do this constitutional review is because they need to make sure that it's a working document where all Nigerians can feel that they can actualize their dreams, and it will engender cohesion and unity amongst all parts of Nigeria. But earlier on in the Nation newspaper, with the source they spoke to, the source who is supposed to be a member of this 56 people who will sit on the committee or on the constitutional review, hinted at the fact that there were already pressure coming from different quarters to ensure that the Land Use Act is altered in a way that it benefits the federal government, becomes perhaps it goes under the domain of the federal government. So I'm trying to think of the two together. How does that enable or enhance unity, or that could possibly encourage Nigerians to believe that they can actualize their dreams here, if that were to be true, of course, from the source?
Yes, as for me, I think what I've been able to figure out from what you said there, I discovered there is lack of understanding of the system we are practicing. If we properly understood that the federal system was adopted to accommodate cultural diversity, sometimes we won't be going this path that some people are agitating right now. We have different people, different culture in a state, and we are looking at these people actualizing their dreams, their group dreams, and their individual dreams in these states. If you therefore try to put everybody together, assuming that what you think is the right way for everybody to go, I think is a big mistake. For me, I think we are trying to amend our constitution by reviewing it. If we are actually looking at unity, then we must accommodate certain factors. We must determine them, define them properly, and try to tackle them in order for us to have a befitting constitution. Constitution is not what some people will just sit down and think that this is the best. No. Constitution must recognize the certain factors that dwells within the state. It must recognize these factors. If not, you will create another problem in trying to solve a problem. In regard to the Land Use Act, for me, land should reside with the local government, not even the state. If the land resides with the local government, the culture of these people are better understood within them. How they ought to aspire for whatever thing that will benefit them, reside with them, they know it better. So in a federal system, you must not center all power at the center. You must default this power to the provinces and the locals or component states. In trying to bring everything together, for me, is a way of coercing the diverse interests to create more problem for Nigeria. We are already contending with this one, where state land reside with the states, and the local government are agitating, the people are actually denying certain privileges and all that. And you are trying to bring out this one because you felt that you are in power today.
All right.
You will not be there for forever.
Okay.
Once you leave, what happened?
Let's move on. Task before Diri, Bielson's expectation as a new dawn beckons. On Friday, 14th February 2020, history was made in oil-rich Bielsa State when Senator Doye Diri was sworn in as the 5th democratically elected governor of the state. Historic also because it was the first time Kolokuma or Pokuma local government area is producing a governor. It is also the first time a democratically elected governor is taking office in a smooth transition since 1999. While the outgoing governor Henry Seraika Dixon will enjoy a tag of being the longest-serving governor under the People's Democratic Party (PDP), who has successfully served 8 years of 2 terms and handed over to his preferred candidate. Doye Diri's emergence as governor, although shrouded in a controversial Supreme Court judgment, has opened up a new vista for the state. The Supreme Court's decision making Diri's governor left many Bielsans deflated and angry, so much so that the opposition attempted to scuttle it with violent protests that almost brought Yenagoa, the state capital, to a standstill. A young state created on October 1st, 1996, with enormous potential, yet challenges due to maladministration and large-scale looting and corruption by past administration. Diri has his task well cut out for him on how to change the narrative of failure of past administrations. There are therefore huge expectations from Bielsans and other stakeholders, given Diri's antecedents and pedigree as one of the founding fathers of one of the most vibrant youth organizations in Nigeria, Ijo Youth Congress. Although the total area of Bielsa's state may be large, the state has one of the lowest populations in the country, but in terms of revenue accruals from the Federation account, it receives relatively large chunk of funds, including the 13% due to its oil producing status. The state is richly endowed with the black gold, so Diri will have no excuse if he fails to develop Bielsa. One of the first major challenges Diri would face, and which he would need to tackle fast, may come from his party, the PDP chapter in the state, and the expected overbearing influence his predecessor, Mr. Henry Serike Dixon, who single-handedly foisted him on the people, may want to exert on him. Mano.
You see, if I heard well.
Yes, you did.
Yes, that others, that's the previous government, had all these things, they pay, what they call allocation and all
yes.
that. They get it in abundance. How far did they go with them? Well, if Diri, as he come, just taking office, it will be glowing testimonies or galore. So if Diri will want to make a change, fine, it's in his hands. If he also want to walk through the path that his predecessors walked, it's in his hands. The fact is that at the end of his tenure, it will be, you put 1 and 2 together to find out how he performed. Like history certainly will judge his predecessors. But for now, the coast is clear for him to chart his own path. And if he wants to chart it on a glowing terms, fine for him. On a solid path, fine for him. I think that's all I can say, because the task, it depends on what one decides to do for himself.
Emefia Haga.
For me, I don't think there is any way where you will fetch anti-fetid firewood in your compound. You will not expect the festival of lizards. During fortune has brought him, let me use that word assumably. But I think from the house and the quarter is coming from, I hate to be pessimistic, but in this case I will. I don't expect much from him. Because the foundation that he's standing on will not permit him in the first place. He's there to serve certain interests. Unfortunately, Bielsans will be the people to bear whatever actions that there is going to, dish out to them. Bielsa is richly blessed, one of the smallest states in Nigeria, with huge allocations coming in outside the IGR. But it's unfortunate today that you enter Bielsa through one way and you come out. They try to create another way through Bogene and all that, but at the end, they see one way in, one way out on the land. Bielsa remains, for me, underdeveloped. No substantive programs for future development. Nothing. What we see is just infrastructure, stomach, and media propaganda and all that. It's very unfortunate. And Diri has also come and is standing on that foundation. If we begin to expect, like, we put more pressure on the man or what he cannot do. So for me, I will be very pessimistic, but I hope he can still prove me wrong and prove everybody wrong by doing exceptionally.
Yeah, okay. I've been to Bielsa a couple of times, and I'm still shocked at this abject poverty that stares you in the face in Bielsa, and the lack of development. Even in the capital, I mean, you go to Yenago and that's it. Just a stretch of road. As far as I'm concerned, everything is centered around that one stretch of road. I didn't have the opportunity, perhaps, to go further to see what's going on in other parts of Bielsa. Perhaps I missed on the big cake. But if you look at the revenue accruals to Bielsa, and the truth is that their population isn't that much too, and the people who inhabit the land, you will just understand the level of grand corruption that has been going on there, and how terribly they've been led by the leaders in the past. I just think that for Bielsa, it just felt like, we don't really need to put up infrastructure. We don't need to set certain land map projects. All we perhaps need to do is just make sure that some of the money gets to you. And so if all you want to do with the money is have fun, drink, eat, sleep, and wake up and start all over again, it's okay. And of course, it's not as if that money gets around to everybody in the state. It gets around to just a select few. And everybody who is captured under that circle of where that money flows just thinks, well, government is doing the best it can. After all, I'm getting this money, I'm getting that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and money is flowing, so it's okay. And nobody really takes into cognizance the need to develop the land in itself. I mean, I'm imagining the concept that it's a far stretch, but I mean, hey, if they can think it, why can't we? I'm thinking what Dubai saw when all they had around them was desert area and oil, and decided we can change the fortunes here. I'm not saying that Bayelsa is making perhaps even a quarter of what Dubai is making, but I'm thinking that the impact of the money that had gone towards Bayelsa could have done far, far much more than what we have on ground.
You see, Annie, first of all, I do not agree that the foundation he is coming from will bar him from making success that will be different from others.
Yeah.
That is why I say it depends on the personality going in. If he decides to chart a course that will be different from others, it's in his hands. Nobody will push him around if he wants to be that kind of governor. You see, all these one stretch of road and all that. What if he comes now and in his mind he has decided, I am going to develop this road, for instance, and then focus on it because he is receiving the allocation and all that. Now, a lot of acrimony will grow because perhaps if others, a few individuals were getting the cash. Now he will say, no, we want to use it for this infrastructural development. There's nothing anybody can do. He is the governor. But of course, if he decides to drink and dine and wine with them like others, in his hands.
All right. Moving on, the endangered Nigeria's youth and other stories. That's in the Guardian newspaper. There is a new federal government directive in the country. It is one of the most striking decisions of the ruling APC government, and it does not seem to be palatable for those it is directed at. This is because it seems to taunt the class of people politicians constantly refer to as the future leaders of the nation. Yet their hope for a better future keeps dangling like a pendulum due to unfulfilled political promises. Currently, the hope of millions of Nigerians' youth, especially university graduates, are eagerly looking forward to be engaged with gainful employment in government agencies, ministries, and parastatals is now seen as a daydream. Nigeria's youth now have to worry about the journey to the unknown as entrepreneurs without guide or palliatives from the government. Judging from the language of the directive, there is no greater sin in Nigeria currently than being a youth. This is because government, past or present, hardly express its modesty and empathy on the youngsters. Over the years, Nigeria's youth are constantly and unfairly treated, often as government chooses to shy away from its responsibilities towards youth welfare. In fact, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration's behavior towards the nation's youth reveals a fairy tale my grandmother used to tell us as a kid about the king who knows the price of everything but the value of nothing. No doubt, if things should continue in this way, President Buhari's departure at the end of his stewardship may prove to be a broad historic significance of poor leadership and huge embarrassment to Nigerians, especially the youth. This is a government that struck a bond with voters in 2015, majority of whom are youth, that it will create millions of jobs if voted into office, as well as pay stipends to unemployed fresh graduates. Surprisingly, the other day, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, advised unemployed graduates against relying on government for job opportunities. The minister advised point blank that they should stop poking into government establishment for jobs that are not available. He admonished the youth thus: Nigerian youth should invest their talent in other job sectors, as the richest youth in the world, aged between 21 and 31 years, are not employees of government but smart entrepreneurs who distinguish themselves in creative skills in various areas. End of quote. Good talk, you may say, but ordinarily, in other climes where government works, the people's burden is not only the government's responsibility, but is also seen as the government's headache. And government must earnestly find solutions that will solve issues affecting the people. Indeed, there is no reason to dispute that what the Honorable Minister Ngige said. All right, Emmanuel.
Well, governments all along in this country have always looked at the oldies, let me put it that way, at those who will be able to do something. It's not in doubt that the youth are not often recognized. There has not been any change in this. Perhaps it is worse, especially having come up with these kind of promises as they mentioned there. But that they mention that does not mean that they won't still do all such things. What they are saying is that whereas the stipends they may be paying will not be enough. Because remember, it says you should not depend on government. Already is known as stipend. Once they give you that, you can continue. But if you put your eyes on certain other things you are doing for yourself,
But they haven't
I think
given
it will
the
be better.
stipends.
That is the issue. So if they said they will pay stipend, you keep on looking at them as going to pay the stipend. When you don't get it finally, you fire the first server and tell them, why is it that you made these kind of promises? You have not fulfilled it. Because this is just the beginning of the second tenure. That's what I think is too early for me. Except otherwise they are saying they were promised in the first tenure and that one has rolled off. That means there's little faith in the second tenure. But if it is on this, I think they are just taking off.
You know, I'm shocked that federal government failed to see how they are active agents in the end product that Nigerian youths will become and are becoming. I don't understand how they have failed to realize how they are the ones that have conditioned Nigerian youths to be the way they are by their policies and lack of policies, activities, and inactivities in certain areas. I mean, the piece here in the Guardian newspaper juxtaposed what's happening in Norway and mentioned how government was looking at the greeners, that's what they call them, the young people, and decided to set up certain tech hubs in several areas to engage their minds. And because of the kind of education they have, they were able to fit into the different sectors that these tech hubs provided them. And they were creating alternative energy for Norway. And you look at millions of Nigerians who are on the streets who have graduated and slapping the streets of Nigeria day in and day out from one ministry to another, hoping to get some job, and you say, stop poking into the ministry. What do you want them to do? You haven't given them opportunity to thrive in any ways. You say you have policies, you have schemes, but it's not benefiting them. The other day, I was going through some of the issues on N-Power, and there are so many people who are claiming they haven't been paid. And in some places, I was reading where N-Power was saying, we're sorting out certain things, you'll soon be paid. So all these irregularities are on ground thanks to government, and then yet you claim that don't look at us, look somewhere else, look to the moon. Let me get Emeka Haga.
Yes, we are talking about my constituency. I will be represented fully. I think
what constituency would that be, please?
The youth now.
All right. Go ahead.
I think over time, the Nigeria youth has been a victim in its domain, victim in their houses, victim in the street, victim in their respective
Pretty much
states.
everywhere.
In victim even the religious houses. But however, I think it's time for us, the youth, to actually wake up from our slumbering. In waking up, it means we need to work on ourselves and the way we think, the way we do certain things. Because I've come to understand that majority of these pains that we are suffering are self-inflicted. We encourage them, we support them, we promote them. Our minds are so polluted to the point that anything goes. We are creating some scenarios that will even scare people away based on the way we are doing things. And if we continue like that, on what ground are we going to stand to make the right decisions and the right demands? If you tune in radio, you watch TV, you walk on the street, when you hear certain youth speaking, you will marvel, you will weep like Jesus wept, and you begin to wonder, how are we going to tackle the situation that will liberate the youth from this quagmire, suffering, and bondage, this obvious bondage? If we are thinking in this manner, it won't help us.
Who are even this government? Are they not the people from the youth? We say the old ones are this, they should go, their brains are drilled, they don't know nothing, and the young one are there. How are they doing today? It is from even from the quarter of the young one that we have no access to budget. It is from the quarter from the young one that people are being beaten. If you criticize, they will tell you it's the marketing. But when we criticize the old one, it is right. But we can't criticize the young one, it's the marketing. And therefore you are threatened if you try it next time.
Tell them.
So how are we going to overcome the situation if the youth are thinking? We are so biased, are so tribalistic, we are so religious to the point that we are even used against ourselves and we are applauding it.
Okay, all right. We've got to pause there. Thank you very much. We'll continue when we return. Stay with me. We'll be hooking up with the music that's in just a moment.
Are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
All right, 58 minutes after 9, and I've got Geraldine here from Otibola Properties. Geraldine, good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today's inspection day, right?
Yes.
That's why you have a huge smile. All right, let's hear what you have to say to us.
Yes, good morning, listeners. It's your girl Geraldine here again. Yes, Otibola Properties is here for you. You know, we're all about real estate and for you to invest in landed properties. And today is our inspection day, yes. And you that you have been hearing Monday, Tuesday, and today again, you have been telling you can come and see this property. Yes, you can come out today and see it. All you have to do is to come to our office at Inyewale Nsirim Layout. That's off Tombia Extension, GRA Phase 3. Or you call Amarachi on 081 33 48 79 68. I'll call the number again. 081 33 48 79 68. Yes, for those of you that have been hearing us, we have been talking about invest and travel. We've been telling you we have property here in Obirikwere. We have at immediately after the international airport. We have at off Igritali School Road, GRA, and all that. Yes, you have been hearing about landed property. I'm here to tell you this morning to stop thinking too much. Take that bold step because we know that one of your plans for this year is to be a landlord. And we are here to encourage you to do that. One thing that most people are scared of is that most times they are like, I have this money or this money that I've worked for so hard. I've this my salary, my this. I want to be sure where I'm investing this money. That's why we are here. Otibola Property is a company that has taken care of all your problem. And that's why we're encouraging you, come for inspection, see these properties. We don't want to just be telling you this is where our property is, this is where we want you to come and see it for yourself. Because when you see this property, you get that imagination or that vivid imagination of this is what I want to use that property for. Yes, our property, our Quiet Heaven Layout Phase 2, which is our Invest and Travel 2020, is still there. And those will be like, I think I want to buy from this property and go to Dubai. You have that excitement. Yes, we will take you to that property. You will see that we are already doing the road. We don't want to just be telling you. You will see that we are doing the road. You will see that we already started the perimeter fencing. You will see that the place is already developed. You will see the electric pole. So this is why we are giving you opportunity to come for inspection and book for inspection. All you have to do for those that will be available today, yes, we have inspections on Wednesdays and on Saturdays. So for those that will be available today, please call Amarachi on 081 33 48 79 68. I'll call the number again. 081 33 48 79 68. Call her for inspection today with us. Please don't be too busy for us. Come and take that step and become an investor.
Thank you so much, Geraldine.
you.
Don't worry, we'll be there.
Yes, you need to be there.
All right, stay with us. The news update comes up next.
5.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people.
Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News update.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdul Salam. Senate President Ahmed Lawan has called for installation of security gadgets at the National Assembly complex in Abuja. Lawan made the call to security operatives during an emergency meeting with the leadership of the Senate yesterday. He stressed that an urgent arrangement will be made to tighten security at the complex and also make sure officers are more on red alert. The Senate President said this became necessary after he was informed by the Department of State Security DSS of threats of attack on the building. As part of its moves to avert the threats, Ahmed Lawan said that the Senate has set up an ad hoc committee. A bill for a law to improve the environmental sector in Rivers State is undergoing finishing touches before it will be sent to the Rivers State House of Assembly. The state head of service, Rufus Godwin, disclosed this in an interview with newsmen in Port Harcourt after presenting a paper at an event. Godwin said the executive bill, which will focus on addressing environmental issues affecting Rivers State, will also propose stiffer punishment for environmental offenders. He added that the state government is worried about the dumping of refuse in the median of major roads within the state. Niger Delta militants have vowed to resume hostilities in the region following the sack of the All Progressives Congress APC governor-elect in Bayelsa, David Leon. The militants threatened that attacks on oil facilities will resume if Leon's mandate is not restored. The threat was contained in a letter by a coalition of militant groups under the aegis of Reformed Niger Delta Avengers, RNDA. The RNDA said a copy of their letter had been served to the Supreme Court and the presidency, which is a notice of their preparation to resume hostilities on oil installations in the region. RNDA's letter was signed by the leader of the 9 militant groups from the 9 states of the Niger Delta, led by John Mark Ebi. The coalition said though they have kept to the ceasefire agreement and have been engaging in peace advocacy in the region, the recent ruling by the Apex Court is unacceptable and provocative. And on the foreign scene, wife of Lesotho's prime minister, who is charged with murdering her predecessor, will stand trial on March 17th. A magistrate court gave the date when Masea Thabane appeared in court. Thabane was detained this month after being accused of ordering the killing of Prime Minister Thomas Thabane's estranged wife, Lipolelo. Lipolelo Thabane was shot dead in June 2017 near her home in Maseru, the capital of the tiny independent kingdom, which lies in the middle of a South African mountain range. Police allege Messiah Thabane hired 8 assassins to kill her, but was not present at the shooting. And with that, we wrap up on the news update here on Today 95.1 FM. Thank you for listening. To have a good morning.
Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Welcome to Returns Market Investment Nigeria Limited, a subsidiary of Result Investment Nigeria Limited. For the past 3 years, we have actually used this international capital market to touch lives, families, and companies. We have had firms use this international capital market to open factories such as tissue paper factory production, bakery, pastries factory, and table water factory. We have also had companies use this international capital business to pay for the running cost of their companies, which include their staff salary payment. Returns Market Investment Nigeria Limited is strictly into the international capital market business, where we trade and invest in 3 sectors: trading and investment in the stock and shares markets, which included trading and investing in the New York Stock Exchange market, European stock market, and Asian stock market. Trading and investment in the commodity market, which include trading in the crude oil market, natural gas, and gold market. We trade and invest in the FX market, which is known as the currency market. For example, the US dollar against Naira market. The rate at which dollar gains strength over Naira would skyrocket the price of the market upward. The rate at which the Naira gains strength over dollar would skyrocket the price of the market downward. In Returns Market Investments Nigeria Limited, we are ready to do business with 3 categories of people, Mondays to Fridays. Client A is one who is a novice about the international capital market, and he or she is looking for a reliable and credible platform to learn the trade secrets on how to make consistent profit on the trading floor of the international capital market. Then Returns Market Investment Nigeria Limited is for you. Client B. This is a client who have done this business before, but he or she is not making profits in the capital market because what we have around is people training you, but they do not know how to trade in the market. Then, if you are in this category, Returns Market Investment Nigeria Limited is for you. Client C. This is one who wants to invest his or her money in the market, but wants the company to manage his or her portfolio of funds to earn good returns on investment. Then, Returns Market Investment Nigeria Limited is for you. Returns Market Investments Nigeria Limited, which is a subsidiary of Resort Investments Nigeria Limited, has a proven history of delivering 10% return on investment to her clients for over 3 years now, without stories or delay of any kind. We have looked on different people's financial objectives and we came up with different investment plans. We have the short-term investment and long-term investment. Short-term investment is strictly for 1 month investment and the company offers 8% return on investment on any capital. Long-term investment is from 3 months to 2 years and the company offers 10% return on investment on a monthly basis. The long-term investment is divided into the following categories: 3-month plan, 6-month plan, 1-year plan, 18-month plan, and 2 years plan, all of which offers the client 10% return on investment monthly with a minimum capital of 300,000 naira and maximum of 100 million naira. The sustainability of the capital market has to do with the fluctuation of price. As long as there are fluctuations of prices in the stock market, commodity market, and FX market, we are also bound to make profits on the trading floor of the market. For example, the crude oil price of today can never be compared with the crude oil price of tomorrow. $1 barrel movement on the trading floor is a lot for us that trade on the market. The reason why Returns Market Investments Nigeria Limited is different is simply because of the live trading services we offer and the constant delivering of 10% return on investment we have been offering our clients for the past 3 years. We just uploaded a video on our website on how the company made 36 million naira as profit on the trading floor of the market. This has never been done in Nigeria or Africa before. If you are looking for a reliable and credible platform to learn or invest in the international capital markets, then think Returns Market Investments Nigeria Limited. Remember, we mentioned Road to 2020, and 2020 is here, when the company will be celebrating 4 years of delivering 10% to her clients. We shall be giving away 2 brand new cars and sponsor 2 couples to Dubai to see our Dubai office and for vacation. For more inquiries, you can contact our offices at number 33B Rumola Stadium Link Road, just by Salvation Ministries Glass House, Port Harcourt, or branch office at number 10 NTA Road by Rumokuta Checkpoint, Port Harcourt. Visit our website at www.returnsinvestmentsnigerialimited.com, or you can call us on 090 346 14444 or 090 365 27708 or 081 551 89002. Choose financial freedom. Choose Returns Market Investments Nigeria Limited.
Quest. All the news and information you need in one go. Get started with the best of sports, lifestyle, analysis, and Annie.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Can you feel it? Wake up to today's quest with Annie on Today 95.1 FM from 6 to 11 a.m. weekdays. Fantastic.
Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
After 9, and you're listening to Today 95.1 FM. And it's time for Opinion Poll. And for Opinion Poll, we're actually looking at the very last story we took on the show today, which is the endangered Nigeria's youth and other stories. And the writer here says there is a new federal government directive in the country. It is one of the most striking decisions of the ruling APC government, and it does not seem to be palatable for those it is directed at. This is because it seems to taunt the class of people politicians constantly refer to as the future leaders of the nation. Yet their hope for a better future keeps dangling like a pendulum due to unfulfilled political promises. Currently, the hope of millions of Nigeria's youth, especially university graduates, are eagerly looking forward to be engaged with a gainful employment in government agencies, ministries, and parastatals, is now seen as a daydream. Nigeria's youth now have to worry about the journey to the unknown as entrepreneurs, without any guide or palliative from the government. Judging by the language of the directive, there is no greater sin in Nigeria currently than being a youth. This is because government, past or present, hardly expressed its modesty and empathy on the youngsters. The other day, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, advised unemployed graduates against relying on government for job opportunities. The minister advised point blank that they should stop poking into government establishments for jobs that are not available. He admonished the youth thus, and I quote, "Nigeria's youth should invest their talent in other job sectors, as the richest youth in the world, aged between 21 and 31 years, are not employers of government, but smart entrepreneurs who distinguished themselves in creative skills in various areas. End of quote. Good talk, you may say, but ordinarily in other climes where government works, the people's burden is not only the government's responsibility, but it is seen as government's headache. And government must earnestly find solutions that will solve issues affecting the people. Indeed, there is no reason to dispute what the Honorable Minister Ngige said. But he forgot to mention or inform Nigerians is government's own contribution by way of providing an enabling platform for Nigeria's youth. For instance, in Norway, as reported by the Economist magazine February 14, 2020 issue, that, and I quote, many young Norwegian Greens, as they are called, started to wean off the government by engaging themselves in the subsector hubs they have for new tech. And from there, they've gone on to find green energy for the nation. And by this, expanded other areas where the youth of the land have been able to thrive. So earlier on, when we spoke about this, Emmanuel, we talked about the fact that it seems as if it's just, the path here in Nigeria. You go to school, you graduate, and then you start working for government one way or the other, be employed. That's how we see it. Of recent, we've started talking about, being your own employer, being an entrepreneur. But like the writer did say earlier on, most Nigerian youths are thrown into that circle of, fending for themselves, employer of labor, or employ yourself, or be an entrepreneur without much guide and palliative by government to ensure that they do this and do it successfully.
Well, it's a problem. And the problem is not just that of the administration now. It has always been in several administrations before this one. And of course, this particular one has joined also the other past ones. The youth, I must be frank, are not recognized. If you check a crop of people that are leading the country, it's more something like recycling. They are oldies, all of them. Mm-hmm. Now, but following what Ngige said is very correct. Like I said, in the way I understand that, even though government has not come out practically to give them any grant, they promise and all that, but they also show that there should be a help and guide, like they are saying is lacking.
Yeah.
Truly, there should be such. And that is what government that is highly focused on doing something will do. And when they are mentioning Norway, that is a well-organized society. But Nigeria is not. Because one thing about Nigeria is that those in government are thinking about themselves and not because certainly generations go, generations come. And once you are not preparing the youth, it means perhaps when you just die, finish and all that, which of course is going to be gradual, then you won't have those who replace you and stay for long. But the youth themselves here should think deep on what Ngige said. Because even if government should come out and roll out the stipends they said they will give them, how far will that take them? I agree that there should be guide and all that, all such sensitization on guide. But this circle of finish school, work for government, and perhaps when you reach an adult again, you also disappear naturally. It's not taking Nigeria anywhere. So when the youth themselves are not presenting themselves as those who could be relied upon to take over from the old guards, then one begins to know that it's a problem for this country. Like Emi was saying, if you start sharing, there are those who are used in government now. How far are they taking to show that, yes, they are more digital and now that as they pride themselves? What have they done in the states they are giving to governor and all that? What exactly can one point out and say, yeah, there's a difference? Rather, it is these old ones that will even do something that one will still call back and fall on and say, yeah, this is better than the previous ones or the youthful ones. However, it is too bad for government not to recognize the youthful population because they will not replace themselves. It must be the youth that will replace those who are today. So, for Nigeria, I think the problem is all that we've been having. I must tell you, Nigeria is in a fix. There ain't no sector, no way. And that will only bring back the kind of structure we are talking about. All round. There's no other thing. And where government seems to be uninterested to making changes, things will continue in the way it is. Let them also be taking the picture from Norway, from America, from wherever. It is people that organize those societies to be the way they are. But Nigeria, nobody seems to be a perfect organizer.
All right, let me get to you. Emifia Haga.
Yes, government, youth. I think, like Aristotle will look at the state, that the state will assume to attain its full potentials when they make they make good husbands, and people are able to achieve their potentials through the true happiness, and make the men become good scientists, make them good soldiers and all that. But in the case of Nigeria, if we look at the youth, that constituency, our problem is very complex. Very, very complex. There is the part of government, there is a part of the youth themselves. It is true that government was supposed to be thinking for her citizens. Government was supposed to be creating a conducive environment for the people to thrive, particularly the youths, to achieve their full potentials. But if these things are not available, what is left for the youth? What becomes our fate? In spite of this, I think if we look at a genesis, because we are looking at just government, what is government doing today? What has government not done? What government ought to do? But first, what is our mind, the state of our mindsets? Because if the mind is not stable, the mind is not well structured, the information in the subconscious mind are not properly defined, those information will become the character that the youths are now manifesting. What am I trying to say here? First, the foundation is the mind, and there is high level of moral decadence within the youth. Us, I am one of them. The way we think, the way we do things, the way we will see the tomorrow, I think there are so many questions that needs to be answered. We see government as that is the government, forgetting that we are playing a vital role in enthroning whatever government, whether at the federal, at the state, or at the local government, even within our communities. There is no government in place today that the youths are not the key players in enthroning them. But the problem is, who are these people in government? Some of them were once youths. Some of them behave the way we are behaving. And this mentality, they took it to government. And today we see the products. And now we are complaining. And as we are complaining, we are the same people who are supporting these things. We are the same people who are encouraging these things. Later, we'll turn back and begin to cry foul. If you listen to news, you read from papers and all that, you will discover that majority of the youth today, from the school, some don't even read. No thanks to our 40 curriculum, who only teach us about theory and all that. No critical thinking and all that. So we graduate, all we think is how to make it now. How do I get the money now? We don't bother if our action will actually trigger another suffering. But we just want to make it now. Government of the day, according to the writer, only center on the today.
The writer didn't look behind. The writer only capitalizes on what this government is doing. And these are the write-up by shaping certain opinions towards certain directions. If you want to say certain things, before you know it, if you follow them, you begin to drive the orientation of certain persons that at the end, which is not true. Policies that the government actually put in place for the youth. What were the drives of the previous administrations to recognize the youth? We have issue of Empower, PS, and so many of them. There are so many empowerment for SMEs and other by this administration. All these are meant to encourage the youth. But how is this thing going with the youth? Is it actually getting to them? Are we actually prepared as a youth to take over? Are we actually prepared to seize the opportunity to make the right demands from the states and the government? Today, when you tune to your TV, you walk on the street, the only problem majority of the youth or some of the youth sees is federal government. Everything is federal government. They forgot that there is a government called local government that was created to take and to ensure that there is better life at the local level.
All right.
There is state government and there are functions of the state government. But if our mind is channeled towards the federal, excusing those who are supposed to better our lives at the local level, are we helping ourselves?
All right. We got your thoughts on that. Well, let me just welcome into the studio to joining us Professor Chief Andrew O. Efemini, Department of Philosophy, University of Port Harcourt. And in looking at the write-up in the Guardian newspaper, the writer said the worst thing to be will probably be a Nigerian youth now. It seems as if there is no way forward for this set group of people that are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow. He says, and why he perhaps is saying that is because of the position of government. And I think in government, he might mean government in every strata. Let's not take away from the discourse the fact that recently Ngige said, look, stop poking around federal agencies looking for jobs. You've got to learn how to be an entrepreneur.
Am I a youth? First of all, if I'm not a youth, maybe I will not comment because youth should carry their problem. Am I a youth?
You're the one who says youth is the leader of tomorrow.
So am I a youth?
But it depends. It depends. What we're using? What we're using as our benchmark?
I know World Health Organization has defined middle age now to be 60 years actually.
Oh really?
Yes, so we have to watch it. Youth is not necessarily about being 20 or 30 or 40.
But it says here that the Federal Republic of Nigeria looks at youth as 18 to 29, but the African Charter recognizes youth as 18 to 35.
Don't worry about those. I'm just telling you what now say middle age.
Okay.
I went to the hospital and they said you're a middle-aged man. I said no, I'm not. They said that's the current definition.
All right.
Because there are places where the life expectancy is now reaching 80, 90. Yes, so we are not necessarily. In fact, middle-aged youth in Nigeria can even be 5 to 10, because at 50 we die. So let's not create fun in Nigeria. Let's not we can make progress.
All right then.
Yeah. So the discussion for me is, it's not touching the fundamentals. When you live in a part of the world where fundamentals of setting up society are not in place, the thinking of everybody also alters. You see, there are societies that are well ordered. There are societies that are not well ordered. Clearly, most societies in Africa, Nigeria inclusive, are not They're not well ordered. And once you live in a society that is, let me give you an example of what we mean by a society that is well ordered.
Mm-hmm.
A well ordered society imposes plan of life on people. Imposes plan of life on people. So this issue of you to go and find something to do, don't find something to do, is part of anarchy. When you graduate from the US, you know where you are going. Why? The society is not just well ordered, it is industrialized. And the society fixes minimum wage that is self-survival. It's not minimum wage that is a death wage. Because as far as we are concerned, we're not ready to fix Nigeria. You have the intellect, you do all the analysis, at the end of the day, no motion. You do all the thinking, understand the problem, put it across, no motion. A society, motionless society. So, the foundation for ordinary society, properly or poorly, is your constitution. The capacity to industrialize is in the quality of your constitution, because that will determine who will want to come in, the quality of social stability, the integration level, all those things, level of peace, stability, all that is embedded in the quality of what? Your constitution. So what we are now saying is that in the context of a constitution that is not only unjust, but is dysfunctional, we are not discussing youth living in such a society. My brother here talked about local government. If you analyze local government in Nigeria, you know they are useless. They cannot but be useless. It's not their fault. What do you expect from these local governments? They pay salaries and they
retire.
That's the end. What can they do? We know that they cannot do anything. And we know that they don't pay salaries until they collect money from Abuja. Most of them. And yet they are there. And we are even getting more entrenched. We are even now saying that all their money must come from Abuja, direct to them. As if we are addressing we are not addressing any problem. These are signs of more aberration for the constitution. Because what you are now putting in place is unitary system, which is the opposite of federalism. See, so the youths who grew up in this kind of confused society, what really will you be expecting from them? You go to youth court, they pay you 30,000 naira. It's now good big news that they're earning 33,000.
Mm-hmm.
You see, if I go to social media, the way they're celebrating it, you think it's 20 million they're paying them. But I know what is 33,000. It means nothing, but they're celebrating. That is an imposed false psychology, false consciousness on the people. So we're discussing youths who move around with false consciousness. They're disillusioned. They have no hope. The state is not their hope. The state, in fact, is even telling them now, go, don't depend on us again. Whereas all of us are linked to the state properly, like umbilical cord in well-organized societies. Even when you don't have something doing in well-organized societies, your social benefits guarantee you survival. Now, I'm trying to get people to know what is a society. Mm-hmm. The unemployment benefit in Germany is equivalent of 700,000 naira in Nigeria. Unemployment benefit is equivalent to 700,000 naira if you are not employed. The minimum wage in Norway is $20 per hour. $20, even higher than the United States. These are human societies. In Nigeria, unemployment is normal. You can even suffer kwashiorkor and die. You can even die of malaria, who cares? They still blame you for being poor. They still blame you for being an unemployed youth. You don't know what to do. What do you want them to do? I've asked people who say, you should do something. The way they say, oh yeah, tell me what you want the youth to do. They get more confused.
They should go and farm.
They should go and farm. Because farming is something you carry home. You dig land. When your hand break, you die there. That's what they're doing in America. They are using hoe and cutlass, drain their muscles and die prematurely. Look, I don't want to get angry in this studio. If we don't want to,
you're not the leader.
You are the leader. You're one of them. You're one of them. If we don't want to fix Nigeria, let's agree that we don't want to fix Nigeria, because what we need to do as a people, reason points to it. I think I'm a philosopher. Reason points to what we need to do to change our fortune as a people. Why are we not going in that direction? Nigeria is not industrialized. With a population of approximately 200 million people, you're not industrialized. You can't start to do anything. You can't. And what has that led us to? You have earn and spend governments all over the country. We are doing this. We are building school. We are building this. We are doing that. What does all that mean? Is that the purpose of government? Government is about the people. And in the context of Nigeria, the people are now Boko Haram. The people are now angered youth in the Niger Delta. The people are now kidnappers. The people are now anything but. That's what we have thrown up. I will still blame them. You create human beings, all they see is religious fanaticism. Their mind, all they see is violence. All they see is suffering. All they see is hopelessness. Because you don't want to fix the fundamentals of your society. So I don't blame Ngige. Ngige is not a youth. I don't blame him. He's secured by the Nigerian state. Those who are not secure, including those who are working, they know that Ngige doesn't know what he's saying. You know what I said once that caused problem between me and government? They almost came to arrest me. During one of our strikes, somebody called me around Vice President Jonathan at that time. And they asked me, why am I embarrassing the alma mater of the Vice President, who is now Jonathan? And I said, let's exchange salary between me and Jonathan. Let's know who goes strike. Let's Jonathan earn my salary. Let me earn his salary. Let's know who goes strike, whether it is me or the Vice President. And I put that thought carefully. What you give to the youths as a society is precisely what nature says they should give back to you. You cannot plant cocoyam and be expecting rice. We have not planted order. We have not planted hope. We have not planted hard work. We have not planted industrialization. We have not planted. Look, my friend, how do you expect a graduate? Somebody graduates, go even struggles, go and makes masters, and it looks there's no future. I don't want to be seen to be inciting you to, but if I were in that condition, I don't know what I would do. Let me not say things that shouldn't say on radio.
All right.
So that's precisely where we are as a people. What then? I'm sure in the future we'll talk about the way forward. Because there has to be a way forward.
There ought to be.
Yes. For moving forward, my friend, I had a talk about constitutional review. You were talking about land, no land. This, that. Confuse people again. Your people are confused. We don't have a constitution. What are you reviewing?
The constitution.
No! Do what Americans did. Americans had confederal constitution. I've been saying this on this radio. When they went to Philadelphia in 1787, they dropped the confederal system after enormous intellectual exchange and fire. People came up with the Federalist Papers. Few of them, Madison and a few other people, came up with the Federalist Papers. At the end of it, these intellectuals came up with the current American Constitution that laid the foundation for over 300 years.
Is that not what the tinkering will do? These intellectuals.
No.
These intellectuals, these 56 member intellectuals that we have.
No.
We'll tinker with it until they come up with a working document.
Their job is to review.
Yeah, in reviewing doesn't mean they will not tinker with it in the manner where
No. Americans did not review. They came up with a brand new.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In abandoning, it does not mean that we will not still take certain things from them.
No.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, Prof. In abandoning, you can still take certain salient ones.
Excuse me. What we mean is when you go for a new, let's say, if you do an analysis of Nigeria, for example, 36 states is useless, is bogus. Let me just start from that as an example. I've said it here. Many states in Canada are bigger than Nigeria. It's the same in US.
Yeah, because they're able
I'm
to.
coming.
They're able to narrow down
I'm
government to the
coming.
people. Because even in those states, you find that counties are large as this state. Even within those counties, there are smaller structures where governance.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm saying that.
All right.
If you know that some countries, some states are bigger than Nigeria, then you now know that to have 36 states is to create structures that are necessary. In a technology age, internet age, you don't even need to go to Abuja to solve most of the problem. You know that. That era of man-to-man contact to lead the world, technology has surpassed them. Meanwhile, in this 36 state structure, you now have workers. They earn salaries that can't feed them. And they create a structure that has become a prison to everybody. Every month, all the resources come, it goes to this prison. You are not industrializing, you are not changing anything. Then you come and have 700 something local government. They carry the same money from the same source. Not money worked for as a people. Oh. Easy money. You spread it into 700 something local government. The point I make is that the structure of Nigeria imposes suffering on the youth already. Because there is no resources, free resources to actually do what needs to be done. They go and queue up in this. That's what I say. It's what you give to the youth that they struggle for. But assuming that you have 7 or 6 states in Nigeria, for example, and then in place of what you call local government, you have provinces. You have provinces. Maybe you have 60 provinces. And these 60 provinces will play the role of states. You then have one province as big as half of Bayelsa, for example. We can work out the logistics of this thing. What you have done is that you have created self-sustaining entities automatically who can run on their own without waiting for federation account money.
Yeah, but I mean, even if, regardless whether you have them as provinces or not,
yes,
and you still have a structure that has 36 states, can't you still have them run in a self-sustaining structure, so to say?
No, if you add the states and the local government.
No, let's not even bother. I'm just saying, what if you just have the states? They can decide how they want to break.
No, you see, you cannot remove states and local government in Nigeria. They are tied. It's about the structure of the country we're discussing now. That's why I say, if you substitute this for this, and I asked one local government, one chief.
Some zoomed in the states are the local government.
I asked one chief from Ahoda, Omoku. I asked him, Asoga, if they scrap all these local government in rivers, and then give people 5 more states, forget the name now, which one would you prefer? Is that they should give us states? What I'm saying is that let's discuss so that we can free our people from what we are passing through. Not to do that.
The point
you must come with a new constitution. It's not amended.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come to you, Doctor.
Yes, I think.
Sorry, Prof.
I think if we critically look at the Nigeria problem, I agree with some of those things, Prof. I said there are other areas that I'm not in agreement with. If we continually to look at the structure as the main problem, I don't think the structure.
Can we sync when we speak about the structure? Can we sync it with the issue of youth problems?
Yes, that is where I'm going.
Okay.
Yes. Take for an instance, we have Obiakpo as a local government. Obiakpo is one of the richest local governments in Nigeria, based on the resources available to her.
Obiakpo.
Yes. Now, Obiakpo has youths. If, for example, 200 million naira is coming to Obiakpo every month, and we have a visionary leader who oversees the affairs of Obiakpo and decided to prioritize the problems of Obiakpo with regard to the youths, I think that money will create jobs. I think such actions will take so many youths from the streets. I have said this thing some time ago in this platform, that immediately you are elected, you play 2 roles: administrative role and managerial role. Administratively, you implement laws in order to ensure peace and order in the society. But the managerial role, you will be able to define what is needed
In the eyes of economics, you call it what to produce. How do I produce? And for whom do I produce this? We, in this case, you take into cognizance the youths who are roaming the streets. Through your managerial acumen and ability or policies, you can come up with a program. A program that will take the youth from the street, that will redefine or shaping their minds towards certain area of engagement. And as you continue to do that, before you knew it, you have reduced the level of unemployment and youth restiveness within your domain. But we are not doing that. We can have regional government today, where the whole South is subsumed to become one region. If the character still remains that, as the money comes, I put it in my pocket. We go to Abuja, we collect this money, we channel it to Dubai, to other places to buy houses, without a clear-cut policies to take care of the immediate needs of the people, we will still have the same problem.
You know, hold on. I understand that certain structures allow for the pilfering of funds easier than certain structures.
Yes.
I understand your point on the mindset of the people if it remains, but there are certain structures, because of just the simple way of how they are constituted, that doesn't allow for that easy access for you to loot or pilfer funds. I hope you do know that.
For example, River States, there is no law that says, as a Rivers, or you live in a river, or you live in River State, or as a governor of a River State, that the people should not have access to the details of their budget. No law. But somebody decided to do it so. Is it the structure? No. America has how many states today? Nigeria has how many states? But look at how America is functioning. Bring a government official from America and listen to him speaks. Bring the one of Nigeria, Christy Gigi, will tell you that don't rely on government. But the labor minister there will tell you this is what we are doing in order to take Americans from the streets. But here we tell you don't rely on government. Because we believe that whatever that we are getting from there is for me, myself, and for my family. And we might even decide to impoverish everybody so that when we speak, everybody will be down for us.
All right.
Okay. Can I just add that? You see, I'm not sure we're looking at what the standard of living is beyond Nigeria. If only we understand that we're a subhuman society, properly analyzed, maybe we begin to appreciate some of the points that I'm making. Everybody in Nigeria is devalued by international standard today, including me here seated. I'm devalued. What I earn is approximately 10, 15, 20% of what I should earn in industrialized societies, including some African countries. That's what I'm talking about, structure. How come that I can't be paid well when they know that what I'm earning is approximately $1,000, which is rubbish? It is the structure. We go on strike 6 months. The structure cannot allow for me to be paid $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 like that. If I were even say it, people will shout, how can you earn such money? Even your own Nigerians, who know that's what they are paying in South Africa, that's what they are paying in even Uganda.
There are too many of you that will be earning that amount of money now.
Because our population, universities are not too many. That's the problem. We're a population of 200 million people today. America has over 3,000 universities on a population of about 280. So, the point is the structure. John Hopkins University has a budget bigger than River State government. When we say this, the people are not understanding. Nigeria is a poor country. Our total budget of about $40 billion is what New York Fire Service spends in 1 year, only New York Fire Service.
Okay, all right.
You people are too poor.
Yeah, we agree.
Poor people will not understand what you are saying.
We get it. Thank
You
God.
can use it to create a human
That's why
society.
we understand you, so we're not poor. My
Poor
point
people.
here,
How much are they paying you here in the studio?
and it's less
Poor
than,
people.
less than $1,000, and I've not gone on strike yet.
You don't go on strike. How can people not understand what you are saying?
Less than
Nigeria is too
$1,000, and I've
poor.
not. Hold on.
Unemployment everywhere.
Hold on. in order not to I understand the argument, but
Yes.
in order not to lose the essence, this poverty as we found ourselves and this unfunctional structure as we found ourselves
Yes.
here, how does that continue to compound the woes of the youth? And is there a possibility that we can change that essence so that the youth who will, because that is the natural circle of life,
Yes.
they will take over us? How do we ensure that the people who
You have asked me a question. Why is it compounding? The population is increasing. Destitution is increasing. Frustration is increasing. I'm telling you, 30 years ago, we'll be talking about Boko Haram. 30 years ago, we'll be talking about militants who kidnap you and kill you in the bush, ritual killing all over in Lagos and all that. The population is increasing with hopelessness. And definitely, aberrations will be taking place in society. You can't wish justice away, except to do what needs to be done. And that's where I'm saying, if you don't fix what needs to be fixed, if you like bring 500,000 soldiers, Nigeria cannot be secured. Remember what I told you? Insecurable societies, sinking boats. We are abusing government, abusing Buhari, abusing. It doesn't solve the problem. It means we don't even understand the problem. If you make me Buhari now, what I will do is that I will tell Nigerians that this structure we have cannot lead us anywhere. And the problem is in politics. So I will go for absolute political reforms and give the people democracy. And they will govern themselves. They will cultivate for themselves. They will produce for themselves. They will create structure that will make Nigeria will, within 10 years, be like Belgium. Practically possible. But it must start with political reforms. See the energy we're wasting now in Nigeria. Whether Supreme Court is right or not right. When my common sense tells me that even the US Supreme Court is not neutral. Even the US,
yes,
who appoints to influence you? In the US, #1 democracy in the world. Republicans and Democrats fight over Supreme Court judges as if the world will collapse. They even refuse to touch Obama nominee until Republicans took over because they suspected they would take over. And they did. And they put a conservative person who will rule when it comes to the cross according to the party affiliation. So how come we think that these people who were either appointed by APC or PDP, they will suddenly become machine and be neutral? Instead of us to come up with a system that doesn't allow Supreme Court or courts to determine who becomes president or governor, we still allow them. They were looking for neutral human beings. You know, I warned that we're going to fight war over Supreme Court judge. They have started though. And did you hear that they are now protesting in the Elderly's house? Very good. That's the beginning. Did you hear what's happening at Bayes everywhere? Oh well, did you hear what happened? There will be full-scale war if they don't listen to people like us. Intellectuals, that's what will happen. The human mind tells me that's what will happen.
We spoke about this yesterday, something similar, Emmanuel, when we said that with the continued judgments from Supreme Court, that takes away perhaps the desired candidates of a people.
Yes.
How does that affect democracy in the long run?
Thank you very much.
That was what we spoke about yesterday. Anyways, today is a different topic entirely. We're looking at
democratized youth will be better. That's what I'm saying.
We're looking at the Nigerian youth, and the writer says the worst thing that could happen to anybody is to be a Nigerian youth.
Yes.
I mean that for me that's I still
that
can't,
is extreme.
I can't seem to take away.
Yes.
The
worst thing that could happen to anybody is be the Nigerian youth.
What of Somalia? What of Syria?
Syria and other Haiti.
No. It is bad enough to be a Nigerian youth. Let's not. I'm not
I
saying.
agree.
But to say the worst.
That is extreme.
Is it not bad?
But you see, when
I think.
No, I mean, when you say the worst, when you say the worst, there are relative countries, Yemen, for example.
That statement is pushed too far. Because for me, it's a natural cycle. You must be a youth before you go to...
No, but the Nigerian type.
Yes, even if you are talking about Nigeria, won't we have youth again?
Even the writer.
We must reach there before we cross it.
How are they treating the youth? How is he treating the youth?
But
What are his actions towards the
hold on.
youth?
There's something that Prof said here. He says everybody's undervalued.
Yes.
So even for the writer, he's also undervalued in the essence that he lives in this situation we have in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So
I think I agree. Everybody's undervalued.
It's going to be a recycling of those emotions and those attitudes.
No, Prof. Buhari is not undervalued.
Let me explain.
He was undervalued, but has valued himself up.
No. Can I explain? Where Buhari is standing and where Mandela is standing, just because you are the president of Nigeria and this was the president of South Africa, they are not the same. Where the president of Japan is standing and we go to United Nations as president of Buhari and Nigeria, they will, when you are talking, they have an idea of who you are.
So what is this
who is this one? What is this saying?
What is this saying?
That's the value of a president.
Okay,
Your country has defined.
I thought you were talking within Nigeria.
Which Nigeria?
Because if you are talking along the line of what you are saying now, yes,
exactly.
It can also be said to be undervalued.
Everybody is devalued. As president, you are devalued. As lecturer, I'm devalued. As journalist, are you not devalued? The problem is that we don't want to be like hypocrites. I know my journalist friend in 1 or 2 media. They are looking for where to run to next. They are unsettled. The income is not coming. Doctors too are suffering. I go to my doctors, I know what they are complaining. Lawyers are becoming overcrowded because society is not progressing. Who is comfortable in Nigeria? I want anybody to call me and say, okay, even the rich men, they no longer sleep well.
They no longer sleep well.
They hardly sleep now.
The things are not coming.
But you can't. When you're thinking of a possible kidnap, of a possible robbery, you can't sleep.
You don't know what they're saying, because
possible kidnap created by them.
If you don't have anything,
the system, not them, not system.
If you have
the system, they run the system.
No,
they run the system.
If you don't have anything, you hear
not all.
You will sleep.
Yes, I agree. Not all.
If you don't have anything, that's if you are not rich. In the night you will sleep because you are nothing to anybody. But once you are rich, one shot.
Let me just read. It says somehow there seems to be a fundamental difference about the role of government for the youth.
Yes.
This is because Nigeria has stopped working for the youth. Hence, many among them are seeking greener pastures abroad.
Yes.
Amid the oil wealth in Nigeria, it is easier to smell poverty among the people than to taste riches, even if it is in infrastructure development. However, it is easier to find rogue politicians than credible and performing ones. Which is why few political leaders who run the affairs of government hold sway over the nation's wealth, and many among them corruptly enrich themselves. The other day, the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, FRC, raised an alarm that the country is overrun by debt. According to FRC, all the 36 states of the Federation have contravened the guidelines of the Debt Management Office. President Buhari, who is supposed to set the borrowing limit for the states as stipulated by the FRC Act, has not done so. And as we're wondering about the unpalatable ills facing the nation's youth, President Buhari, at the time when they wrote this, was in faraway Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, once again raised the hopes of Nigerians, especially parents and relations of kidnapped children, as he testified his commitment before the international community that all kidnapped children will be freed. The president has spoken, and knowing that leadership should not be a mere slogan, therefore the world is watching and waiting patiently to see the result. Well, I think what I'm taking away from here is where he says the system is not working for the youth.
To an extent.
I think for me, the biggest one is that the system is not working for the youth is lack of management. The system doesn't even know how to do management. What's your plan?
Yes.
How do you put those plans out to capture the people who fall between the bracket of 15 to 25% or 25 to 35 and ensure that your policies that you're enacting now guarantees opportunities for those within those age brackets by the time they come of age or by the time they take over? I don't see that happen in planning. You know, you mentioned something about the ministries and agencies earlier, and you said we're all lining up and just seeing if we can get a role, and then the monies that Nigeria is making is channeled into these prisons, as you call them.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, if you have ministries and agencies, obviously you should have ministries and agencies,
yes,
but of what essence truly do they bring to the lives of ordinary Nigerians? The Ministry of Health, per se, the Ministry of Works and Housing. And are we supposed to see these people engaged in the activities that's got to do with works and housing, or works as they've been separated now? Works? Or are we supposed to see the people in the Ministry of Health involved in health activities concerning Nigerians actively?
Can I save you from this tension? Because the way you are going, this thing will give you hypertension. I want you to calm down, Annie. Nigeria will run us into hypertension all over the place. See, You can run a system where government doesn't need to spend money on roads.
I'll post you on that.
Yes.
Run a system where government doesn't need to spend money on roads.
On roads. And the
we'll
roads
be
are
right
efficient.
back. We'll be right back on that.
Court. Are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News update.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdusalam. In what appears to be a reply to claims by the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dakuku Peterside, that Governor Nyesom Wike is gradually killing education in Rivers State, the state government has outlined some of its achievement in the education sector. Commissioner for Education, Professor Kanye Beku, at the media briefing in Port Harcourt, said the current administration came in with a clear vision in the education sector. Ebeku noted, amongst other things, that the state government has established a medical school in the Rivers State University, added that the state in the last 5 years has maintained first 4 positions in WAEC ranking for 36 states, including Abuja, which he said shows sustained growth in the education sector. The Kukupita side had accused the Rivers State governor of gradually killing education in the state. Despite the eagerness of Nigerians to see the changes in the security structure of the country, the presidency has said it is not yet time to sack the service chiefs. Secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF, Boss Mustafa, made the revelation while speaking at a book presentation in Abuja. Mustafa stated that there were processes that should be followed in the disengagement of heads of security agencies. The SGF added that the processes will be followed at the right time. Gunmen have killed an assistant director attached to the State House in Abuja, Letita Dagan. 47-year-old Dagan was killed in her apartment in Galadimawa, Abuja, shortly after she returned from work. Permanent Secretary of State House, Jalal Arabi, who confirmed the incident, said the death of Dagan was a painful loss not only to her immediate family, but also to the entire State House. And on the foreign scene, the United Nations has called on Cameroon to conduct an independent investigation into the shocking killing of 23 villagers in a troubled English-speaking region and ensure the perpetrators be held accountable. Citing information from colleagues on the ground, the UN Rights Office said 2 pregnant women and 15 children, 9 of them aged under 5, were among those killed. The incident took place in a region where armed separatists are campaigning for independence from the rest of Cameroon, which is majority French-speaking. According to AFP, more than 3,000 people have died and at least 700,000 have fled their homes in the nearly 29-month-old conflict. The UN Rights Office said the already tense situation in Cameroon's Anglophone regions had worsened ahead of this month's parliamentary and municipal elections. And with that, we wrap up on the news update here on Today 95.1 FM. Thank you for listening.
Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. The voice.
You don't wake up one day and say, okay, this policy is working, and then you expect it to crash the market in the next.
Cassava variety that takes 7 months. Do they know it or they don't?
What's the beginning?
Because you can see they are involved.
They are involved, true.
So how can you solve it? What will stop it? They're involved. Look at 1.something billion special allowance, 1.2 billion special allowance, padding of budget, 4 billion, this billion, 400 billion. How can they stop
Hello,
it?
good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, what's your name?
Yeah, this is Mr. Zion. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
All right, Zion, go ahead.
I think I totally disagree with the man.
Today's Quest with Annie.
Today is here. Yesterday is gone and unrecoverable. Tomorrow, you don't know what it holds, right? You have today. Yes, you heard me. You have today. The indisputable truth is that today is pregnant with both good and bad. You have freely been given today as a gift to see what you will make out of it. Permit me to be positive. Permit me to sideline the negative and magnify the good. Permit me to espouse on today. Today is great. Today is wonderful. Today is targetable and targets can be achieved. Today is domineering and you can be dominant. Today is a conqueror and goals can be conquered. Today is challenging and you can challenge yourself for the better. Today is cheerful. You can choose to be happy. Just in case you're sulking, saddened and feeling sorry for yourself. Enough of the wallow in self-pity. You have today. I mean today. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Take that step today. Opportunities are everywhere. Just be sensitive. Build on yourself and get ready for the opportunity. Be the best you can be today, because I see the sun smiling on you. This message is powered by Today
95.1 FM.
Voice of the people.
This is Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people.
All right, 10 minutes has gone past 10. You're listening to Today 95.1 FM, and I have with me the delectable Blessing. Good to have you here. Good morning.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, Annie. I'm always happy being here with Annie.
Thank you so much. Good to have you. Well,
to
we'll
have
be
you.
talking about Hunter Global and the world's largest liquid market, right?
Yes.
So tell me a bit about that. Let's start like I'm a novice and I have no idea whatsoever.
Okay. Good morning, listeners out there. My name is Mrs. Blessing Samuel. I'm representing Hunter Global. Now, to Annie, let me start with Annie and others listening. For those who don't have idea of what the most liquid market is, I'm talking about the foreign exchange market, because for some of you, you've heard too much of the name Forex, but you don't even have an idea what this is all about. This is simply a financial market, the world's largest financial market, where currencies of the world, different countries are traded online. And when we are talking about trading, it simply means you're speculating the rise and fall of any currency, just like any other commodity and probably indices, and you're participating in that and profiting from that trade. And you're doing this trade at the comfort of your home or anywhere you are on the probably you're seated somewhere at the leisure. It's something flexible you can do alongside with any other business you're doing or probably the work you're doing. Now, for Hunter Global, what has Hunter Global got to do with the online market? Hunter Global is a multinational financial firm. A multinational because we're serving over 100 countries around the globe, more than that. And with a wealth of experience of Hunter Global, we bring trading these financial markets to your doorstep. What do we mean by that? Hunter Global, as a broker, the middleman between you and the foreign exchange markets, that you use them to trade, is always in the business of empowering people with the skill, giving you different instruments that are tradable in this market, that are easy to speculate, and actually also helping you in mentoring you to do this the right way. It's one thing to trade in the forex market, is another thing to profit from the forex market, because we have a lot of people who probably have the phobia of it because of the stories they hear from people that probably this business is risky and all of that. Now, I tell people every day, there's virtually no business in the world, any money-making venture that does not have its own do's and don'ts, or that does not have its own know-how, technical know-how on how to do this. But the most important thing is for you to set your gaze on the goal ahead. And what's that goal? That money that will keep you going, that pips that will keep paying your bills. Why am I always talking about the pips that will take your bills? Because I'll tell you that this is one of the most easiest way of making money. When I mean the most easiest, I'm not saying you just lazy around and the money will come to you, but this is a means whereby if you know it, it's easier than what people think. Although the chat some people see and all of that puts them off, but once you put your time, that little time you have and the mind to know this, it's not an energy muscle way of making money. You just need to wait for, it's not a physical energy thing, you wait for the opportunity to strike using a good strategy to trade. And Handtech is here administering the strategy in the business of empowering people with the skills for free now. And not just that, we are bringing this to your doorstep. Port Harcourt people, the set time we've been waiting for has come. For the year 2020, we are holding the first of its kind in this year, one of the largest digital online seminar in Port Harcourt next week, this month, where a lot of things will be exposed to you. Now, there are different ways you can earn, either from trading. There are others, either from a copy trade. When I mean trading, it's either you're trading yourself or your account is being traded for you through a mirror trade solution. Is a software that makes you earn from the market. Now, on the 29th of February, that's next Saturday. For those of you who are working, the excuse of we're going to work is not there. It's weekend, and I'm not sure, but I don't know if it's even sanitation. So I don't know if it's or not, but it's a weekend. It's a Saturday. A lot of people don't go to work, so you have that time.
There's
to
another
take
Saturday. It's a leap year, so there's another Saturday.
Oh, yeah, it's a leap year. Thank you. So it's another Saturday. So on the 29th, that's true, to leap year, 29th of February at 10 a.m. at 3033 Sani Abacha Road will be a mega Handtech market seminar in Port Harcourt. And
Feels like we should have the drum rolls at that time.
And what's so wonderful, what's different about this year's seminar?
Different?
What's different? Lots of things are different. We'll be exposing you to dynamic way of different ways and easiest way of you multiplying your profits using a very friendly, accessible broker in trading. Aside that, there will be lots of giveaway prizes, including cash. Yes, you heard me, cash. Lucky winners will be going home with $250. And I've seen what magic this $250 does in the lives of so many people in different states in Nigeria where such seminar have taken place. I can't forget what 250 did in the life of a young Moses in Owerri. Yeah, 250. This guy won the 250 raffle draw, and on that 250, I tell you, he's made over close to $2,000 trading with that 250 as a startup capital. You know what it means for a young boy, probably in his early 20s, just between 21, 22, to be exposed. He's still a student and he's exposed to this opportunity. He came to Hunter Global. He's been trained, and in less than 3 months, he's speculating, and you know, he's using that as a startup capital, and that he has multiplied over a period of time. Now, this is another opportunity. There will be lots of refreshments, lots of souvenir, but the most important thing is not just the immediate gain you're getting in this seminar, but it's a lifetime opportunity and knowledge you can use to trade and to be financially free. There is nothing else. For me, probably I like money. And it's not a bad thing to like money.
Isn't that a
to be financially captive is not a good one. So, and you can do this earning in the online market. Now, for you to be part of this seminar coming up next week, Saturday, 29th of February at Sani Abacha Road, the Autograph Event Center, Diamond Hall, Autograph Event Center, 3033 Sani Abacha Road, New GRA in the city of Port Harcourt. All you just have to do is is to send your name and location for reservation, because it's quite a massive seminar.
Yeah.
The hall will be all full and booked. So you can be part of this. You've heard so much about it, but you want to have first-hand information first. Then you want to know the right thing to do. The right time is now. And all you just have to do is to SMS your name and Port Harcourt to the number 080 56905612. SMS your name and Port Harcourt to 080 56905612. I've been involved in foreign exchange market before, the forex trade, and I've loved so much, but I'm afraid, or I'm not there yet. But would time is of essence? I don't know. I don't have the time. I can't create the time. Then come be part of it and see other way we could help leverage that, and you could also have another means of livelihood and income aside what you're doing. So all you just have to do is to SMS your name and Port Harcourt to 08056905612. And I know we have listeners out there who prefer one-on-one contact. I don't just want to do this and hear somebody over the phone. I want to come there, make inquiry, or probably I have some questions in my mind that are bothering me about this new business I'm about to enter, to go into the foreign exchange market. I want more information. All you have to do is to locate us at 26 Abba Road, directly opposite Owando Filling Station by Union Bank. You can come to Hunter Global Port Harcourt branch office for more inquiries. However, for you to be part of this digital online wealth creation hosted by Hunter Global in Port Harcourt on the 29th of February, the time is 10. Please add it to your reminder, your schedule for that day. All you just have to do is SMS your name and Port Harcourt to 08056 905612. SMS your name, Port Harcourt, to 08056905612.
Let me ask this question now. There's someone there sitting with some money and is thinking of investments, and why would you suggest the person takes to forex trading as against any other investment plans available?
All right, that's a good one. I'm not saying not taking it other, because the most important thing is you having multiple channel of income. One is never enough. Two, you're trying but it's not yet there. Now, the good thing about you bringing in this to the foreign exchange market is the world is changing. Aside, not just the world changing, it's an easiest way also for you to generate profit on that capital. And you doing it is always easy for you to monitor this. Now, for some persons, like I mentioned before now, because for the foreign exchange market, the forex trading, there are different ways that your risk can be managed. Different ways, not just one way that you can apply risk management. And bringing your investments to this is because this has been a platform where millions of people around the globe have earned more than a living. Really, okay. Yes. It's an avenue where a lot of people have multiplied their funds. So I would want to employ and enjoy people to look towards the foreign exchange markets. Trading is quite a lucrative one.
Amazing. Last time here, you mentioned something about mirroring. You know, if you didn't have enough time on your hands, how you have already, should I call them now? People.
A copy trade account.
A copy trader, yes.
Now, what do we mean by a copy trade account? It's simply your account being connected to an existing trader, probably professionals, and there are different ways. And the advantage of this is the trader does not have access to your account. Neither does the trader have access to your fund. You alone are the one saying what's happening on your account, but because your account is being linked to this trader, whatever thing he's doing on his account is replicating or duplicating itself on your account, and that's another means of trading without you directly being involved.
But what would you tell people? Because I know a lot of people say, you know what, even with all of this, it's always very nice if you learn this for yourself too.
Yeah.
Because it's a skill that will always be with you.
Yeah.
And one day you could find yourself in Mauritius and you just need to make you need to make quick money.
Quick money to earn living for that day.
Like, make quick money. So,
Now, for me as a person, there's no two way to earning a skill or acquiring knowledge. They could take anything from you, but that thing no one can ever take it from
away.
you because you can always replicate results. You know how you did it the first time, so you will always know how to help yourself. You could be in a situation where you are in an environment you're not finding it easy to get employment. You could travel anywhere around the world, but all you have is just that little fund in your trading account, and you're looking for something that will keep you going for the meantime. You understand? You don't need to go knocking on doors of people looking for money to borrow. All you have to do is sit down with that skill you have and generate income yourself.
amazing. So how can we do that? We need to be at this mega seminar coming up.
Yes, all road leads to 3033 Sani Abacha Road, New GRA. You can easily locate it. The time is 10 a.m. 29th of February. So just be there.
29th of February.
Yeah, 29th.
That's
The last day of the month. So all road leads to New GRA Sani Abacha, the autograph Diamond Hall. Please write it down and just SMS your name right now as you're listening to 080 56 905612. Just your name and location.
What
for the
time
seminar.
is the seminar?
The time is 10 a.m.
Okay.
The Autograph Event Center, Diamond Hall, 29th of February.
For reservations, they need to send messages to
the number 080 56 905612.
Please take that number again.
SMS your name and location to 080 56 905612. Handtech Market is always here for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Mrs.
darling.
Blessing.
Thank you.
And then looking forward to seeing you next week. But in the interim, we'll all be there on the 29th.
I'll be expecting you especially.
All right, stay on the dial. Opinion pool continues in a moment.
Court, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Today is here. Yesterday is gone and unrecoverable. Tomorrow, you don't know what it holds, right? You have today. Yes, you heard me. You have today. The indisputable truth is that today is pregnant with both good and bad. You have freely been given today as a gift to see what you will make out of it. Permit me to be positive. Permit me to sideline the negative and magnify the good. Permit me to espouse on today. Today is great. Today is wonderful. Today is targetable and targets can be achieved. Today is domineering and you can be dominant. Today is a conqueror and goals can be conquered. Today is challenging and you can challenge yourself for the better. Today is cheerful. You can choose to be happy. Just in case you're sulking, saddened and feeling sorry for yourself. Enough of the wallow in self-pity. You have today. I mean today. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Take that step today. Opportunities are everywhere. Just be sensitive. Build on yourself and get ready for the opportunity. Be the best you can be today, because I see the sun smiling on you. This message is powered by Today,
95.1 FM.
Voice of the people.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Hold on, Kata. No, don't say else. Just bring 5,000 now.
Only.
Make
the Qatar day. Make the cold remain.
Yeah, they worry.
You
You were not aware you're a thief. Now that you know that your money is coming from a thief, do you not see why you're a thief?
All right, still talking about affairs of the federal government. We understand also that the federal government...
Welcome to today's edition of Beats and Pieces in the Premium Talk and News Radio.
That's why we're called the voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Act.
Here we go.
Wake up to today's quest.
Wake up.
All the news and information you need in one go. Get started with the best of sports, lifestyle, analysis, and Annie.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Can you feel it? Wake up to today's quest with Annie on Today 95.1 FM from 6 to 11 a.m. weekdays. Fantastic.
So it's exactly 10:30, but before we move on to real talk, let me just quickly wrap up on the last conversation we were having, and that was on Nigerian youth and how the writers spoke about them being endangered, and we're looking at structures and all of that. We got to the point where we mentioned where Prof said he'll need me to calm down before I get hypertension. He says, because these issues could get one hypertensive. And he was trying to break down how you could walk on roads without spending a dime, you said. And I paused you right there.
Yes, not spending a dime, but not spending government money
Okay,
as we know it.
spending government money as we know it. All
Yes,
right.
you know, we have been spending government money, awarding contracts, trying to repair roads since colonial times. We still live with bad roads. We spend the collapse. We spend before you finish from Emoha to Elele. Emoha is bad. You reach before you move from Elele to Ahoda. Elele is bad. That's what we'll be saying in Lagos Road everywhere.
Yeah.
Now the solution to that is very simple. You have, as it is the standard in many parts of the world, roads are tied to years. In some countries, 20 years. The company will be liable for 20 years if there's a crack.
Yes.
So we need to first of all reorganize our road construction in such a way that companies take liability. You know, when airlines crash, the company that manufactured it is always going to be part of the crisis. We're seeing what's happening to the companies today all over the world. So people construct roads, they collapse, no liability. So what do you then do? You will then have to assign roads to contractors that meet certain definite minimum conditions. Enugu to Port Harcourt, for example, can be under Julius Berger. Any Pararam Julius Berger will be liable. How do you fund it so that it doesn't become a drain pipe for government? We all have vehicles. I'm talking about by the time you assign all the roads in Nigeria to reputable companies, you have created more than 30 million jobs. I'm trying to tell you why we're not thinking as a people. We're not thinking.
Like how? Give me one example of like this Enugu.
If you create Enugu to Port Harcourt,
I give it to which company?
I say you give it for example Julius Berger. I'm just saying yes.
A construction company, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say it's under Julius Berger or RCC or Andrew Limited, whatever. Because I would then bid to also control roads, depending on my capacity. Now, what then happens is that I will have monitoring offices, civil engineers, all sorts of people will be involved, accountants, that will be chain. How do you raise money? You don't put government money there. You use government money to pursue industrialization. I have a vehicle. Let's say you do your financial analysis. It comes to me paying extra 15,000 or 20,000 when I'm renewing my vehicle particulars. When the money enters there, just like Shell, people get their money without quarrel. Their job is to make sure that Port Harcourt to Warri, there's not a gallop. That's the contract. They will sit up. There will be employment. This youth we are discussing, they will be employed.
So invariably, the people pay for the road.
We are paying everything we do. We pay. Even contract, tax we pay. People pay. You pay that by good road or you pay by debt.
So choose.
Or you pay by accident. You choose. Pay by go slow. Pay by sleeping on the road. Pay by kidnappers blocking you where the road is bad. We pay for good or for bad. So I'm talking about a functional system now. So you pay like 20,000 for example, while renew your papers.
And from there they fund.
It is funded automatically in a way that doesn't bring government. There's no Buhari in this thing. There's no Minister of Petroleum. There's no Minister of Road Construction. You see? All over the country. So wait, unemployment will drop.
I see the link.
Yes.
So when you pay for your license, the money for that license is sent now to the contractors managing that road?
Exactly. In a ratio that is properly organized. Remember, it's a running job. So any engineer on that thing is not something that will be unemployed tomorrow. We're talking about youth unemployment. We're not thinking. Now, what are we doing? Government will come this year. They are budgeting Minister of Road Construction. Is it works they call them also?
Works.
Minister of Works. We are budgeting the repair of Suka to Enugu Road. 1 billion. Before they even finish Obolafo, the whole road is bad. No responsibility. No liability.
I think that is the major problem with Nigeria.
Yes.
That lack of responsibility.
Who cares?
Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Nobody gets to be blamed
because of the system.
For it. The system.
Well, we don't want to think. See, let me tell you one of my frustrations as a person. I'm talking to the tomorrow I can drop dead, I'm gone. This is one country that will not consciously come and tap for intellect. I'm a typical example. This country will not consciously look for intellectuals that will rescue them from their crisis. They don't consciously. They rely on themselves. Whether they think well or not, they rely on themselves. Whatever they decide, that's what they do. That's what they do. And impose on the people. Where is it taking us to?
Right here. Let's get your thoughts on this.
Yes.
Any feel Haga before I wrap up and move on to another.
In the conclusion of the write-up there, we look at how the system can work for the youth because it's my constituency.
When he says, yes, the system is not working for the youth anymore.
Yes, it's my constituency. To make the system work for the youth actually is very important. And it must be through critical thinking and deliberate policies where you identify the problems of the youth. What does the youth want? What are the problems of the youth? What are the challenges? And how do we tackle these challenges? The youth want employment, right?
Yeah.
The youth want better housing. The youth want to achieve their individual potentials within the state structure. So we must begin from education. Because that is where we groom the youth to become better functioning citizens. And it must come through proper funding to meet our current challenges. If today the school curriculum is funded towards technology and transportation, not this theoretical whatever curriculum that we are driving today that people are groomed, or you see Aristotle said, Socrates said, and at the end we are not saying anything that solves our problem.
as a state and as a country. So if we properly fund the education towards a better school curriculum, that we groom the youth from there, and as they are coming out, job will be available for them. How? Through the managerial duty that I talked about the other time. And how are we going to do it? The states, the local government, the federal government, we have to sit down and plan. What do we produce? How are we going to produce this? And for whom are we producing? In this case, it will be for the youth. The elder can argue for themselves. I'm arguing for the youth now. Yes. And in doing so, we will now have a scale of preference. We rank this priority. How do we produce this? Are we going to produce something that will employ the youth? Or we are to produce something that will take away from the youth? What are we producing? Now, transportation is a driving sector in the world. The basic needs of society, we talk about food, shelter, and all that. Without transportation, some of these food items are far. You need transportation to bring them close. So if you invest in that area, you have identified something to produce. In the course of doing that, people will work in that sector. You're providing employment already. How are we going to do this? The agriculture we are talking about, are we using capital intensive or we are using labor intensive? If you are using labor intensive, that is, you need more hand to do certain things. In conjunction with capital intensive, you put some technology in place, and by so doing, you have absorbed so many persons from the street. The youth will be engaged in doing one or two things through whatever thing you are doing as a chairman, as a governor, or as a president, or through the ministries. Because I said it earlier that we are producing for the youth, so for whom to produce is what is settled. Housing. The youth need housing. So many people are just roaming the street today. In the evening, they don't look for somewhere to lay their head. No house. Due to issue of advance payment for rent and all that. Somebody wants to stay in your house, pay me 2 years. And this is somebody who doesn't have a job. Maybe you have been able to put on one or two things together to raise little fund, and you are demanding for 2 years advance rent. How is he going to raise this money? So the frustration will be so much, like Prof talked about the other time, that we become so very angry with the system, angry with everybody. So through legislation, if they can tackle that, reduce advance rent, and the government and the federal and the states, even the local government, will begin to engage themselves in housing scheme in order to cushion the effect of these rent problems and all that. If you do this for the youth will be settled. They will have time to rest and think properly. So these are some of these things that we need to do. To rest and think. I think properly. No, there's no time to rest. They are always on the street. The youth are roaming. They need thinking what to eat, thinking how to fend for themselves, thinking how to provide light for themselves, thinking how to provide security for themselves.
They'll be thinking of resting.
You rest to think. You need time to think.
You actually, people keep three jobs in the US to
you need time to you need time to
3 jobs.
critically think something out, because we are failing.
You can't critically think if you don't even know how to critically think.
That is what we are saying. Through the education and all that.
A youth in Bayelsa, for example, what will he do? With the topography, what you do about you? What will
they'll go to pipeline and bust it. What would they? What else do they know?
There is something for them to do, because now.
What else would they do?
No, there are things in Bayelsa. Considering cooperative advantage, Bayelsa State, if the government can invest in fishery and other things.
You're talking about government. I said the youth. I think going back to government.
And the youth from there they can be engaged now. Through that means they can be engaged.
No, because they said the youth don't know what they're doing. They are waiting for government.
I've told you what the youth are doing. I don't know why I say ask you.
So with all these things put in place and better allocation of the scarce resources, it is not this one they are doing, this bogus budgeting, incremental budgeting, they are padding here and there. Let us go back to zero or performance budgeting system where we allocate our money for proper use. And by so doing, I think the youth will begin to work for the betterment of the society, and as a society or the system work for the youth.
All right, well, that's about it there on that story for Opinion Poll, the endangered Nigerian youth and other stories. The story was written by by Matthew Oza for the Opinion Poll segment in the Guardian newspaper. We'll take a break. When we'll come back, it's time for Real Talk.
Is Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people. Radio has never been this good. Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
Today is here. Yesterday is gone and unrecoverable. Tomorrow, you don't know what it holds, right? You have today. Yes, you heard me. You have today. The indisputable truth is that today is pregnant with both good and bad. You have freely been given today as a gift to see what you will make out of it. Permit me to be positive. Permit me to sideline the negative and magnify the good. Permit me to espouse on today. Today is great. Today is wonderful. Today is targetable and targets can be achieved. Today is domineering and you can be dominant. Today is a conqueror and goals can be conquered. Today is challenging and you can challenge yourself for the better. Today is cheerful. You can choose to be happy just in case you're sulking, saddened and feeling sorry for yourself. Enough of the wallow in self-pity. You have today. I mean today. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Take that step today. Opportunities are everywhere. Just be sensitive. Build on yourself and get ready for the opportunity. Be the best you can be today, because I see the sun smiling on you. This message is powered by Today
95.1 FM.
Voice of the people.
Time for Real Talk. You're listening to Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. Now for Real Talk, the Niger Delta militants have vowed to resume hostilities in the region following the sack of the All Progressives Congress APC governor-elect in Bayelsa, David Leon. The militants threatened that attacks on oil facilities will resume if Leon's mandate is not restored. The threat was contained in a letter by a coalition of militant groups under the aegis of Reformed Niger Delta Avengers, RNDA. The RNDA said a copy of their letter had been served to the Supreme Court and the presidency, which is a notice of their preparations to resume hostilities on oil installations in the region. RNDA's letter was signed by leaders of 9 militant groups from the 9 states of the Niger Delta, led by John Mac Ebi. The coalition said though they have kept to the ceasefire agreement and have been engaging in peace advocacy in the region, the recent ruling by the Apex Court is unacceptable and provocative. So, Emmanuel, the thoughts here that I wanted to share will be on the lines of, I know that judgments cannot please everybody all the time. It's going to be people who are displeased and that. But this angle now that Niger Delta militants are seeking to embark upon here is not just damaging to the region, but damaging to the nation as a whole because of something they believe affects Bayelsa alone.
Yeah, I think for me, like you rightly stated, judgment will always favor one side and leave the other side without favoring them. Now, in this case, perhaps the Niger Delta militants are on the unfavorable side, and then they've weighed it and then look at it as something that they were shortchanged. Maybe they were certainly behind the APC. Maybe that's one. Because if not, I wouldn't understand what politicians are doing and the militants now come. Perhaps the militants are politicians. And if there are, now they feel shortchanged and so they are looking for a way. Since there is no other way to right the wrong because it's the Apex Court, let them use militancy this time round. But for me, I am only saying that they should remember that it's going to wreak havoc on the entire economy of the nation. And again, the area, their area, will also be affected.
It will.
So that when you finish everything, others have left the area, you still stay there to be facing what you have created for yourself. However, they must know what they want. And what they want, they surely know. And that is why they are coming up.
But there is a legal means to getting what they want. If what they wanted was the candidate of Leon as governor of Bayelsa State, if the courts have deemed it fit that he lost out because his deputy filed irregular papers or something, protesting obviously in the manner where you're destroying national assets is not the legal way to go about it. Because I'm imagining that the federal government, of course, will want to protect our assets. And what happens? Is she going to send military men into the region?
That would be the greatest mistake the federal government will make. Because you see, it's not like some specific area. Now, what federal government should only do is to look for a way to make sure they reach the heart of these people and settle the problem. But if they want to say that, well, all out war, let's protect our equipment and all that, they'll hide in the street, in the creeks, decided that federal government cannot drive on whatever. And that will make the whole thing linger. You know, what brought about the amnesty? That's because they can stay there and wreak havoc on federal troops. There's no doubt about it. So I think what will be the mature way is to sue for peace, and federal government will pacify them and they will back off. If you don't do it, you want to show that you are stronger, well, it will be an escalation.
Well, I'm a bit worried about how this is going because, I mean, the other time the PDP was the one protesting to UN, to embassies. I mean, at that time, we also wondered what's the need to protest to these areas. I mean, was the US coming to call Nigeria to order in such a manner that we'd never seen before, or were they going to impose sanctions? What exactly were they expecting the United States to do, or the UN, or the UK, and all the other embassies that they had gone to, and the letters they had written? We also understand that some supporters again had stormed the residence of Justice Mary Odili because they felt that she led the panel that read this judgment. We spoke about something like this earlier yesterday, Manuel, where we said with the cases that are being determined by courts now, and how the people will continue to be disenchanted by this, and how this will affect democracy by and large.
Well, you know, when we are saying about Mary Odili and all the rest of them, there must be what judges will come up as their verdict. And what I'm seeing is that these militants do not want to go and waste time following the legal process. They don't want to waste time. So what they want is now, because the election was concluded. So
and their preferred candidate has won.
But unfortunately, the apex court has come out with a verdict.
Okay. All right. Let me feel Haga.
Yes, for me, this is one of the touching moments and a touching story, a touching experience. Because in a constitutional democracy, it is expected that everybody, including the arms of government, are expected to conform themselves to the dictates of the law. Because aside of this, you are actually calling for anarchy and trying to justify Thomas Hobbes. If people are so agitated or there is a dispute resulting from an elections, there are laws that cover those areas. But first, I want to say that I'm not in support of anything violence and destruction of national assets or state assets. No, I don't support that. We shouldn't destroy our assets. We shouldn't sell confusion in our cities, because we blow pipelines and all that. We'll also be the people to suffer the effects. But there are things that are very painful. If you are pursuing justice, justice is rightness. Justice is not something that is appear to be done only. It must be seen. The people must see it. And the measurement for justice, it's what is enshrined in the law, in a constitutional democracy. People were so worried and they felt that somebody was not rightly nominated for an elections. In this case, in Bayelsa. And some persons went to court. It is expected that the court will become the conscience of the people, using the law as a measurement of that conscience. But what happens? It is true that
the ground norm, which is 1999 Constitution as amended, frown at forgery. It's section 182. But there are other laws where you are looking at electoral matters, because the Electoral Act was provided for that reasons. The panel of the Supreme Court that sought to determine whatever decision they gave in Bayelsa State is very worrisome and is very annoying. It's something that every Nigerian, everybody of good conscience was supposed to stand up against.
But we understand that we usually say that the Supreme Court is the last
hope.
Yes.
Last hope of
Not hope.
The
Final bus stop.
The final bus stop.
As annoying as pissed as you may be, it is what it is. And that has happened in several other cases along the length and breadth of our political sphere. You've had the APC at one point feel scorned by what the Supreme Court decision has been. You've had the PDP scorned sometimes too at the decisions of the Supreme Court. But at what point do we jettison all rationale and decide that we will light the country up?
Now, when there is obvious movement from what the law says, people will become very agitated and they will want to seek justice through other means. Take for an instance, you have identified what section 182 says. Then the Electoral Act in section 140 covers whatever transpired in Bayelsa State. I'm going to read it.
No. Where there's a conflict, please. Where there's a conflict between the Constitution and Electoral Act, which one?
The ground norm, the 1999 Constitution, as amended, as it recognized the Electoral Act, when it acts INEC in section 153, that whatever conduct is going to do in regard to election, it must be in line with the Electoral Act. And the Electoral Act now stipulates how elections are conducted and what happens after somebody is returned elected. And it covered the case of Bayelsa State, section 140. Subsection 1 and 2. In a case where somebody is recognized by the court
the argument is not in whether the disenchantment felt by APC and her supporters is valid or not, as concerns what we have in the Constitution or the Electoral Act. The channels upon which that can be pursued is what I'm looking at. And I'm saying we have seen even the PDP engage in such a manner before the PDP decided that they will go to the Supreme Court and ask her to review her decision. And I'm saying that for me seems like the next sensible thing to do. Ask if there could be a review to that and then move on with the processes that we get after that. But to protest, to agitate, to pour on the streets, to call on international communities to decide that we're going to destroy national assets because you feel a judgment didn't go the way you felt it ought to go. I'm thinking, where do we draw the line? Where do we begin to condemn these things and not say, look, because we are part of it or it affects us, it's okay. When it doesn't, it's not okay.
There's difference between sentiment, personal sentiment, and what the law says. If you are agitating or you are protesting, what are you protesting against? What are you actually saying? What is your argument? Was there a diversion from what the law says, that you are writing to UN, you are going this for a review and all that? Or there is a clear diversion from what the law says? That is where the anger comes from.
All right, got your thoughts on that. Let me move on now to Professor Chief Andrew OFMini. Your thoughts on this?
Well, what thoughts do you have when people are frustrated?
What thoughts do you have?
When people are frustrated, and then the frustration is such that emotions are involved. People go to war for this, the same constitution you're talking about has grounds for state of emergency. The constitution anticipates that things can happen. And then there will be breakdown of law and order, and the federal government will set in and set up state of emergency. Exactly. So, if you see those of us who have been saying that the courts, democracy is not government by the courts, our prediction 2, 3, 4 years ago, they have started to come. I have even said there will be war. We have not. Maybe this is the first level war we are talking about. There will be war over Supreme Court judgments, because Supreme Court cannot substitute itself for the electorate. It's never done in any organized society. Any judgment of the Supreme Court will be actually about who won election. Supreme Court cannot use you qualify, you don't qualify, and transfer power against the wish of the people. That's what is happening now in Nigeria. And if we don't correct that, we will go to war. It will happen. Resources have been spent, expectations have been raised. People's do you know now, by returning people to PDP, you have endangered some people in Bayelsa without going back to election.
Even the majority.
You have endangered people. They say, hey, you are not with us. We will teach you lesson. Ask people to confess. You will see hundreds and thousands of those cases going on today in Bayelsa. So Supreme Court judgment is not a joke. It must weigh issues. If I'm in the Supreme Court, I will always ask who won election. Once I know who won election, any judgment will answer that question. It will respect that issue. I've analyzed 5 possible judgments that could have come from Supreme Court that will still be logically valid. I talked about treating that candidate as somebody bound by time. Why is Yosowike remaining in government house in spite of the issue of age, falsification of age? This is time bound. They overlooked it. Not that the facts are not clear. The same happened with President Buhari, happened with so many people. The Supreme Court has said this man had gone to Senate twice, and therefore that issue is time bound. Who will beat them? That's one. I'm just giving the list. 2, they can disqualify the Villiers. They did it in Bauchi before. And they asked them to go back to election. And they will pick a new
and that is what the law says.
They will pick a new candidate and go back to election. APC will suffer the cost of trying its will. The people's will again, whether they still remain. APDP will have the issue of, you can campaign against them, they are thieves, they brought first. All those issues will now go back to the people. They will call a result. That's another judgment. The third judgment is disqualify APC. And they tell the people to choose among the other candidates. Believe me, that same people you see may even make PDP come last. They'll choose another person by their own wish as a result of that decision. So, there are so many others, and they're all reasonable. The only one that also is included is that they will carry power and give to somebody who lost the election and say he came second, which makes the court throw itself at the middle of the politics and then annoy the people. And that's what happened. They choose the one that shows that Supreme Court is meddlesome. It's an interloper. That's what they chose.
Like they did in Imo State.
That, of course, I've said it in Imo State. The Supreme Court would have returned that into the tribunal. Having said this result should not be validly disqualified, they should go and contest it at the tribunal. Before it comes to the Supreme Court, they will take any decision they want to take. That was the valid reason in Imo State. To jump and calculate and hand over power. I have sympathy for APC, but they are wrong in Imo too. You see, as long as this will overshot the accredited voters and others, go back to the tribunal and contest those results. See, let me tell you, I'm a philosopher. The judgments of courts are not judgments of God. We should be careful in this country.
No, they are not.
In the US, Supreme Court is partisan. They are either leaning Democratic or Republican, depending on who appointed them.
Conservatives or yeah.
But there is a feeling that some people are having here that they are neutral. Where would the neutrality come from? Highly charged emotional people with partisan history.
I think I asked that question. I said, in every aspect of the Nigerian life, you find us, swaying one way or the other. So why do you expect at the Supreme Court that this group of people will be?
That is precisely why educated people again that come, intellectuals. We have a process that can remove these things from the Supreme Court. I'll give you just one example. If INEC takes responsibility for screening people a year to election and put up these claims and get people to agree or disagree, you can contest or not to contest up to Supreme Court. They will then determine who is the candidate that will face the people. Will all the lead face this dilemma that is facing here now? The answer is no. Will the militants be dragging whether their candidate? The answer will be no. So why are we not doing reforms that will keep Supreme Court to do normal job rather than become political hamburgers everywhere now? That's what I'm saying. So the issue is, as a people, we know we are not yet a democracy. We are making no effort to be a democracy. These things we are discussing are things that happen in semi-dictatorships. And we're not interested, and now they have politicized the Supreme Court. I remember that the Supreme Court has also power to uphold death sentences. People are beginning to cast doubt in their judgment. It's the same Supreme Court that will sentence someone to death and they will be killed. You see? Murder cases. And there are cases of miscarriage of justice. We know how Kestorewa was killed in this state. Judgment of a court that today many of us don't believe in. He wasn't even given time to appeal. He had 30 days to appeal. Before 2 weeks, they killed him. And that's why the Commonwealth called it judicial murder. We don't want to take ourselves seriously until there is a full-scale blow war. Let me tell you, I'm going to urge the militants to please not carry out their
threats.
Yes. Because if they do, it will dawn on all of us that this reform I'm calling for is urgent. If the price they have to pay is that they will now go for proper reform of our polity, please, they should endure. But anybody who's telling me that we should continue like this and enter 2023, you don't know whether I will be a militant myself.
So the thing now is,
please, if you are, let me know your camp.
Despite that, we are affiliated to one.
Let's know the camp so we know where to go to.
One feeling or one sentiment or whatever. Yes. The point now is there are written laws. Despite your feelings, you must comfort yourself to those laws, whether you're a Supreme Court judge, High Court judge, or Appeal Court judge. In a case where there is a client diversion,
don't forget the ordinary human beings too, the other Nigerians too. The laws apply to them whether they have decided that it appeals to them or not. As long as you're calling the judges, call everybody.
Yes, even for the one Prof talked about the other time. After nomination of candidates and order, we submitted to it. The law the electoral provided that as a citizen from that constituency or that state, you can approach INEC. I want to see the nomination form of so person. You cross-check, you examine, you can go to court, questioning the nomination of that person.
No time for it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I say 1 year to. So these issues are resolved 6 months to election.
Yes, the time.
It's the timing.
But,
it's the timing.
Yes, the timing is the issue.
But for this one, when the law says the next thing you ought to have done was to order for a fresh election, you didn't do that, but outrightly on your own become the electorate who elected the governor from it's unacceptable.
They didn't do that in Zamfara. They didn't do that in Imo State. I wonder why you thought they'll do it differently in Bayelsa.
In Imo State, the electoral act prohibits INEC from unlawfully cancelling votes and all that.
But you see what happens after they added, excuse me, understand the issue. After they added that one that INEC unlawfully excluded, it now exceeded accredited voters. That's why I said they should have gone back to the tribunal to contest that result properly.
It always exceeded because the accredited voters as released by INEC were the one that they felt that this is the numbers that we accepted.
Well, as a Supreme Court, that is why they should have sent it back to the tribunal. Since they were not going to go through that.
They can't do that.
They can't do that. You can't refer it back to them because they have exhausted their time.
No. They go for the trials. Excuse me.
It's time bound.
No.
Tribunal is time bound.
Sorry.
The electoral matter is time bound.
Sorry.
So they can't go back.
Sorry. You know that's why you call the
has
Supreme
the
Court.
power
Sorry.
to assume the
Excuse
rule.
me. That's why they call the Supreme Court. See that word Supreme.
It's constitutional.
Listen to me. They give effect to the Constitution.
You have to amend the ground law.
You are not catching what I'm saying.
You must amend it.
Sorry, man. Sorry. You see, if Supreme Court makes a ruling that you think is not conforming to the Constitution today, it becomes the law. That's the problem of federal systems. Any judgment of Supreme Court is seen to be an interpretation of the Constitution.
Yes, a case law. They call it a case law.
It becomes an interpretation of the Constitution. That's what I'm telling you.
The Constitution rightly states that the judiciary has no power to amend the law, so they can only interpret.
Sorry,
whatever case law.
Sorry, excuse me. I want to give you an example.
In any which ways, the Supreme Court can't decide that even though the figures I'm giving you here overshoots the stipulated number of accredited voters, go and live with it.
That's what they do.
No, you can't do that. Because you're Supreme Court.
INEC said this are the number of accredited voters as declared by them after they have unlawfully excluded some votes.
Yes.
So in that place, those votes were added. That means we now have a new number of accredited voters. That was what that was.
No, excuse me.
It wasn't done.
Sorry, those places they cancelled. The accredited voters were more than the votes. You are not catching what we are saying. That means you don't understand the problem. I never cancelled us because you said you accredited 200.
Yes.
Votes became 230. And they said they will not accept. That's what I'm saying. That you see, if the law says 160 days for for voting. For court cases.
Tribunal.
Supreme Court can say, in the context of what has happened, these 60 days starts now.
No, you can't do it. No, sir. Except you have to amend the law. No, you can't do it.
No,
the
hold
power
on.
to amend the law lies with the National Assembly.
The argument here shouldn't be on whether Supreme Court can or cannot do, because last time I checked, you're not a judge, neither is our prof. So we'll leave that argument away. They on their own will decide whether this is something that can happen. But I've seen cases where the Supreme Court has said, what was the case then of Wike? Because of
the one of Amechi.
No. Wike, I think it was because of they said violence because of something. What was the judgment?
Theater of war before, during, and after.
No, when they said they will go with the judgment because of national interest, something about security.
That was one of Jonathan and Yaradua.
In any which case, I'll remember it. I'll come back.
It was one of Yaradua Jonathan.
I'll come back
after Buhari proved the case. Then I say for national security and interest, they upheld the election.
Fine. They are now the one that decided, the Supreme Court decided that there was an issue of national security, and therefore they will take this path. It's the same thing too that I believe Supreme Court could have done when it concerns Imo State too.
No, that one.
Hold on. When you're looking at security, is that not a chaos now that is going on when you have protesters everywhere in Imo State?
Yes.
Up to UN.
Up to UN.
Yes.
So you should have also taken the need that you want to make sure and maintain security and bring a mandate where it allows the people to take a certain step that will find pleasing to themselves. You cannot just unilaterally now decide that I have taken these figures and I've added that you cannot. The law says you cannot expunge figures from electoral figures. And if INEC has done so, you found out guilty, so you're putting those figures, and yet you see that it has exceeded the norm, and you take that and say, so it doesn't matter, I've done it, move on to the next. The same way you could apply that wisdom that you don't want to bring, introduce a set that will bring disruption to civility or a crisis, is the same way I felt that they could have applied the same into that judgment in Imo State. The same way I felt they could have applied that judgment in Zamfara State and not take away the power from the people.
Yes, taking away the power from the people, I quarrel it. But the one that was done in Imo State,
it's okay, then I'm
you
fine.
didn't
Hold
alter
on.
the
As long as you agree that they shouldn't take away the
law.
power from the people, that we're fine, we're on the same page.
Yes.
They shouldn't take the power from the people, and in every judgment they can consider the people and allow the people be the true deciders of who
to lead them. Finish. That's not
that should have happened in Imo. That should have
No,
happened
the
in Imo.
Imo is time bound.
Nothing is time bound about it.
It's a constitutional
There's
matter.
nothing time bound about it if you're thinking about the people. If your whole idea was to let the people be the deciders of their fate, you would take away technicalities.
Do not
It is
forget.
technicalities that the Supreme Court has
Question.
always introduced
Question
that has
for
always
you.
changed.
If it is time bound, why are they going for review? That time has passed now, but they're going for review.
A review is different from this one.
No,
now
it's
look
part
at
of
it.
it.
If you consider the people, remember, there are some of these people who are agitated while some are celebrating. So who are the people now? The point now is to now rely on the law, what the law says, without tempering or tinkering with the provisions of the Constitution. So in Imo State, if you do that, you will tinker with the provision of the Constitution. But the other one they declare for Yaradua and Jonathan, the other, they say for national security and interest. They didn't tamper with the provision of the Constitution.
Security too.
No,
if
you do that, it means you are creating a law. You have amended the law.
But they amended for Yaradua State too.
No, that was they didn't tinker with the law. They did it.
So if there was an error, they allowed it to be. So
What
they set
happened-
a precedent.
what happened was
Hold
that-
on.
yes.
What he was trying to tell you now is that when Supreme Court takes certain decisions, it sets a precedent. Now there'll be so many people that will go to court relying on that judgment and tell you that in this
Yes. The president will have to
Today
follow
now,
the law.
from now, you say INEC will not
The
cancel
president must conform with the law. If the president is not in conformity with
in
the
any
law,
which case,
it
it's not
becomes
the
a
first
problem.
time that the courts have always been determining the decision and the fate of the people. And I think this has been long coming. I was reading a post by one of the really smartest people I know, and he was talking about how framers of the law in 1979 assumed that there existed an ideal situation where the parties will at the presidential level have a spread to secure 1/4 of the votes in
Into
2/3 of the 19 states of the Federation. This is
Yes.
1979.
Yes.
The NPN candidate, Alhaji Shehu
Did not
Shagari,
make it.
scored 25% in 12 states
Exactly.
and 19.94% in Kano.
Yes.
Fedco approximated the 19.94 to 25%. And declared that Shagari had satisfied the electoral condition of 25%.
See, today,
of the
that
votes
is the foundation
in
of the crisis we're facing.
of the state
they
of
should
the
have gone
federation.
for rerun between
Meanwhile, it was more or less Awolowo.
So you already allow me finish. Well, that's the story.
Yes.
So it has been the precedent.
Supreme Court there started this problem we're facing
you
today.
need to stop. No matter that, and my fear is that the continuous introduction of technicalities to knock out the essence of a case. Oh, this happened, it's time bound, or this happened, or we're taking this into consideration, or we're taking that, and therefore this is our verdict. And still expunging the role that people need to play in determining who they want to lead them. You said it's a democracy. Allow it to be a democracy, please.
Exactly. Then
It's fair sense.
Time to exhaust whatever litigation before inauguration.
All right, let's get to our listeners. We have taken all their time. I'm not sure they're happy with you, Emifia Haga or Professor Andrea Femini.
Not me.
You both took all their time.
Ima.
All right, so let's get to hear from you. The numbers to dial is 0810-951-0951 or 0817-000951. Those numbers will bring you right here into the studio. Hello, Today 95.1 FM. Good morning.
Morning, Annie.
Yes, please. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Mascot is calling from Port Harcourt.
Mascot from Port Harcourt. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Professor Andrew Femini.
Comrade, welcome.
Honestly, I want to congratulate you this morning for schooling some of us and somebody in your studio. Honestly, when we are talking about FIMO, every one of us forgot a major constitutional provision that nobody will be declared a governor unless you have 25% in two-thirds of the local government. If the Supreme Court accepted Ararume's writ that Ihejoha scored 25% in only 14 local governments out of the 27 local governments of Imo, how do we now rationalize that Governor Hope Uzodinma had the 25% after the computation by the Supreme Court, had the 25% in only 2 local governments? So what we are talking about, Annie, from Sandy family, is about the politicization of the Supreme Court. How did it emanate? In my lifetime, I'm getting to 50. In my lifetime, I have not seen, except when Yakubu Gabon was head of state, when a Supreme Court Chief Justice of Nigeria was removed unilaterally. I have not seen that in my lifetime. You can politicize the appeal court, but we hold the Supreme Court as a sacrosanct and sacred institution. But we saw last year, because of political interest, the Chief Justice of Nigeria was unilaterally removed, and it became partisan. I remember in 2009 in Pakistan, the Chief Justice of Pakistan was removed, and it caused uproar. All the people come out on the street until that head of state, Perez, rescinded his decision.
Okay.
So that is the problem we have.
All right then.
It was unilaterally removed and nothing happened.
All right then. Thank you very much, Mascot. We got your thoughts. Hello, Today 95.1 FM. Good morning.
Good morning, Annie.
Morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Lawson. I'm calling from Yenagoa.
Lawson, good to have you. How is Yenagoa today?
Yes, greetings. I greet your guest in the studio. The professor, whenever he's in the studio, it's always a delight, really, to listen to him. But I wonder, Plato, he said something. Until philosophers are kings and kings are philosophers. Please, let him complete the dotted line for me. What is he waiting for? He is a philosopher. What are you waiting for, Prof? I mean,
my God.
Lawson. Honestly, it's a delight. Honestly, following the show. But seriously, I think all of them speaking have really made the point. You don't substitute the wishes of the people, the mandate of the people. I go with the professor. Even in the case of Imo State, they should have at least gone for a rerun. The way the Supreme Court is going, it looks as if, well, I am not saying so, but I don't know, allegedly, maybe they put that word, it looks as if most of the judgments coming out of the Supreme Court are procured. Really, that is what it is looking like. You see, when you say justice, you understand, just like the professor said, you have to weigh it, weigh whatever judgment you want to give, weigh it, look at it, and then see how, you understand, it will balance. This can cause a lot of problems. Honestly, I'm calling from Bayelsa here. You need to see the mood of the people.
All right, then.
It is good.
We got your thoughts.
You understand? It's
Yes,
really,
Lawson.
really terrible. So I hope that they do something about this review they are about to embark on, so that they can pacify the people, because they genuinely came out and casted their vote.
Thank you, and cast their votes. All right, Annie, Nigeria is not really working. As a holder of ND, BSc, I tried so much to secure a job in Nigeria and I couldn't find. I remember the last one I found promised to pay me 15,000 naira. Opportunity came for me to leave the country. I immediately traveled out. Annie, I have been here since 5 years and I could have built a befitting home if I desired. All the years I studied there didn't pay off. Annie, you run for work here abroad. I continue weeping for Nigerian youth. Our people are smarter and stronger, but the Nigerian government treats them like trash. It says, I'm watching this on YouTube now. Thank you. Okay, that's the guy from yesterday on YouTube. Annie, again, you see what PDP has started? They were first to start protesting against judicial pronouncements on Imo. I bet you this is a dangerous trend, as both justices and ordinary men will not be comfortable to adjudicate political matters anymore.
Important.
Well, if they don't, then we will now be left with dealing with the issues ourselves. It is only Nigeria that does not take human resources seriously. Every year, millions of youths graduate from the universities and no plans made in advance to employ them. No arm of government is investing in industrialization to create jobs for the youth. To me, unemployed youths should be shared among federal, state, and local governments for employment. The remaining group should be given loans to set up businesses. Then when there is failure, the youths can take the blame. Ingige said governments can't employ the youths, but they will need all the votes of the youths during election. No problem. AZ, you send this from Port Harcourt. Meanwhile, the statistics put about 55 point something percent of Nigerian youths as unemployed. Annie, Nigeria is not a bad place to live in. Bad politics are just everywhere. Foster, you send that in. The reason these guys are threatening renewed hostility in the Niger Delta is because about 70% of ex-militants in Bayelsa are from Southern Niger, which is the same local government area with David Leon. So their choice is grossly affected. They are still the ones enjoying amnesty from federal government. This is from D. Hello, Today 95.1 FM. Good morning.
Annie, good morning.
Morning, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Nathaniel. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Nathaniel Katafi, go ahead.
Okay, Annie, thank you very much, Prof. Prof, good morning, sir.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, Prof. Prof taught me in university. I'm so proud to hear him talk this morning. But Annie, let me start by saying that if truly Ngige said what he said, then I think by tomorrow Ngige should have even resigned. How do you even open your mouth and say that the youth should not put their hope on the government? What are you talking about? And I finished University of Port Harcourt in 2013. If not for the effort I've put in myself, I know what my mates are doing. Now, the University of Government, for instance, since 2014 to now, how many employments have they made? People are retiring every day from the civil service, at least civil service. Let us talk about the government now. Let us leave the private sector. The government on its own. Every day people are retiring. How many people are you employing to cover up? And then they keep telling us the government cannot create jobs. The government should create enabling environment. What is enabling environment? Creating enabling environment for what? So, and please, people like him today, I wonder the kind of statements are some of our leaders make. Do they think we are fools?
All right.
Do they think we don't know what we're doing? Wait, youth are suffering. So they go to rural areas. I come from a rural community. I ask my brothers, what do you really want? And they say, all they want is something that can give them at least in a month 10,000 naira. And they'll be okay. Go and see them. Over the kidnapping and all that. And they tell us that you should not put the hope on the government. And then during election, then the government should put the hope on the youth. What are we saying? Thank you very much.
Got your thoughts on that. Thank you. Annie, good morning. Annie, the problem is not with the youths, but the government. The same I've been hearing when I was in primary school is the same names that still ring in today. The same people in government, okay? Annie, youths are brilliant, industrious, but there's no enabling environment for them to strive. Even when they try to reach out to the old names in government, will divert it to only their own alone. If a youth can refine crude into various products, imagine what he can do if given a platform to strive. The old struggle with the youth in everything, in sports, they push you out, they bring their own. If you talk, it's either they kill you or frustrate you. Travel out of this country, you will see Nigerian youths doing great things. Go to the universities, you will see great minds ready to explode. Why do Nigerian youths go into crime? It's anger and frustration. No way. So the only way for some is just to look for whatever you can survive with. All right, got your thoughts there. Hello, today 95.1 FM. Good morning.
Good morning. Is Annie?
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, Prof. Fundele. Prof, good morning this year.
You're welcome.
And if you mind, very good morning.
Good morning.
Let me quickly react to this the Niger Delta youth concerning the sack of the Leon in Bayelsa. I think it's good in the right direction. Because the way things are going in Nigeria, those their husbands are politicians. If I'm to decide, they should ban them not to decide any matter. Just I look at what the Josibiri Odele has caused in Bayelsa. It's omen. That judgment is an omen. Please, there's no conclusion in Nigeria. Where are they heading to? Someone who was elected, he has no problem. If he can start the government because the deputy governor has a certificate. What about the deputy? Those deputy governors are there. Why are they the general person? They can start with the governor and the deputy. It's abomination. Please, I want to urge the wife. Please, you should be very careful about the going. They have caused chaos in liberty. They want to spoil the entire Nigerian because they judged. God will judge them. Thank you.
Got your thoughts on the greetings, Annie. Some of us are happy that you're insisting that it is not justice that the court should take away the power of the people. How many of us know that as we speak, the Constitutional Court in Malawi held that in spite of irregularities characterizing the federal elections, they should go back to fresh elections. The incumbent president in Malawi Electoral Commission went back to court asking it to suspend the implementation of the fresh election on the excuse that the cost will be too much to bear. How many of us know that the court told the complainants that if there is any cost that will be too much to bear, it is the people? This is the beauty of justice involving electoral matters. This is from the Masses Congress. All right. And I agree. The cost of what the people have to go through for me is the greater cost compared to the Naira and Kobo that we put into.
Absolutely.
Annie, your guests are on point. I don't know why Prof and Ima can't be made president and vice, respectively. Now, if we should take president and vice, the problem I don't know who will be.
Today FM president and vice.
Annie, please send me your account number. You're doing a good job. Oi. Please do. Job. Please. As for Ingige, I would not blame him. He has forgotten that majority of the people that gave them votes are youths. What is youth not doing? Let him watch what he says, because what goes around comes around. Brown, you send that in from Rukmoku. Hello, today 95.1 FM. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Annie.
Morning, what's your name?
Okay, Kingsley Onwuka is my name. I'm calling from Uniport.
Kingsley, good to have you. Go ahead.
Annie, we know more than we know our names that the government has failed us. Therefore, I urge the youth of Nigeria to embrace skills and entrepreneurship. And I also plead with well-to-do Nigerians to assist and encourage youths by providing them with mentorship and some form of material support. Take a youth, encourage him to get a skill, empower him, and prevail on him to carry one or two other youths along. By so doing, we can build the Nigerian society.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kingsley, got to hear from you. Good to hear from you. Annie, good morning. And the guest in the studio, let the militants carry on with their actions so that it will be a lesson to the Supreme Court that has taken power from the people in a said democracy, and let the lead judge bear the responsibility of that partisan judgment. This is from Tuadum. You send that in from Port Harcourt. Another here says, it's surprising that the guest in the studio are supporting someone who forged certificates to be in office. I don't think anybody supported anybody in that matter.
No.
We were looking at the judgments of the court, not based on its merit in itself, but on how that affects the people generally and what they could have done differently. And I got to understand that it wasn't an issue of forgery, so to say, but that his name was inconsistent in the documents provided.
Yes.
As for the militants, it's a mere threat. I'm from Bielsa. I know they can't do anything. That's from Tonya. Is there any law that holds a judge who collects money, bribe from politicians, and still rule against the politician by being fair? Michael Newmont, she sent that in. And whenever we discuss youth of our nation, tears roll down my eyes. For I remember when I was a youth, as an undergraduate in the early 80s, youths were carried along by government with scholarship, bursaries, job availability, and security. What has happened? Were the leaders then from heaven? I strongly feel our problems stem from disoriented mindsets. The spirit of oneness, selflessness, and patriotism is dead and buried, giving way to unimaginable selfishness, greediness, unpatriotic instincts that have blurred the visions of our leaders, despots, and tyrants. Not to think and plan for the present and future. Lastly, the youths of today are the architects of their woes by sheepishly doing the bidding of their tormentors and myopic lords. This is from Sir Ania or something like that. I'll take one text message and then one phone call. I've got to go. My problem is not just the Supreme Court, but with INEC, the electoral officers are the major issue to elections. The right results for the highest bidder. Kevin Abua says Nigerian leaders have lost ideas, then they only think for themselves and tell the youths to look for theirs. The only program they existed, Empower, they are planning to exit the first batch. Up to now, they've not paid January stipends. Prof, thanks for your efforts. Continue. It's only God that will save this country. Annie, it's very unfortunate that it is now well proved that APC is the sponsors of militants in the Niger region. Does it mean that APC used them to win Bielsa elections? That's from DW. I don't know what the Ifeme wanted the Supreme Court to choose a leader for Imo and wants the people to choose for Bielsans. You try. Okay. Andy and Prof, thanks for putting him through. Henry Oselim, we did put him through. We just had different thoughts on that line. Is there any law that holds a judge who collects? No, Newmont, I don't know. I am Barrister Ojibe Paulinus in Port Harcourt. The Bielsa Supreme Court judgment is a judgment completely outside the true spirit of equitable justice.
It's justified.
Bielsa issue is all about emotions. For youths, there is no headway. Ask me, why just bring any issue? You see how political shallow-mindedness. See how your young guest clearly is choosing political party over progress. That's from Charles. Mrs. Annie, the decision of Supreme Court regarding Bielsa State is appropriate because the way our politicians are going, Nigeria will soon become a place where a person will go to a printing press and print a certificate and tender it to INEC. Ken offer me send that from Oyibo. Emmy is saying Supreme Court is wrong in Bielsa, but right in Imo. Is he serious? This is from Tonya. I am Samuel from Abua. Please, Prof, I always appreciate you for saying the truth. Remember Ken Aswete. Please be careful. Samuel, we don't know what you mean by that, so please, because don't come and be frightening us here. Annie, good morning. Please, can you tell me to, for once, leave politics and defend a failed party and discuss issues? It's quite sad. That's from Chicken. You send that in. We'll take one last call. Hello, today 95.1 FM. One last call, and then we've got to go 0810-9510-951. Hello, today 95.1 FM. Hello.
Hello, Annie, good morning.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Mr. Bai from Romibo.
Go ahead.
Yes, on the Supreme Court of Imogova, people are saying if they were supposed to revert it to the lower tribunal. No, they were not supposed. Government petition in Nigeria runs in three separate tribunals. The first, it is of a high court status, the appeal court and the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is also a tribunal. So if you're not satisfied with the lower tribunal, you take it to appeal court, which is also a higher tribunal. If you're not satisfied, take it to the Supreme Court, which is also a tribunal. And that is it.
I don't think anybody was arguing as to whether there was a law that allows them to do what they did. That was not the argument.
There is no how the Supreme Court can revert it.
Well,
to
we
the
think there
tribunal.
is. We think there is.
There is no way.
We think
The
there
Supreme Court
is. We think
also
that if
a
they're taking the
tribunal.
spirit of people into consideration, they could. That's what we think.
No.
But it's okay for you to disagree. That's okay.
I'm
I'm just saying
the
that
law.
regardless what you have said, this is still what I believe.
No, your belief is not.
Come and change it now. I'm still believe. You've said what you told me, and I still say I believe what I believe. You are saying it's not true.
But I'm telling you the right thing.
It's okay. Hold on to yours. It's fine. It's totally fine. You've just not been able to convince me.
It's okay, but let's leave it at that. Very soon we'll know. Then who went to court? Who of the man went to court?
Yeah.
That he won the election. That based on the exclusion that his vote is higher, and who of the man demanded that he be declared winner. He didn't go there for them to cancel. He said, "I won. Declare me winner." And he presented his facts and evidence according to the line of his demand. And the court sees it that yes, based on what you presented, you actually won, and we are going to grant your demand.
What of the spread? What of the spread? Did he get the 2/3 requirement, or you are not looking at that one?
If we are talking about that place, that should have come on the cross appeal. If it is not on cross appeal at the tribunal or at the court, there is no how they could go.
So the Supreme Court is so blinded that it doesn't look at the exigencies.
The constitutional requirement.
It just says, okay, yes, you won. Here, the figures are plenty. You're winner. Go home.
Hold on.
It's okay. No, it's all right. We've got your. We're 34 minutes after 11. Thank you very much. We got your thoughts there. Real valid position he made, though. I understand where he's coming from, and I hope that conversations like this will allow the Supreme Court justices to begin to consider judgments they make and how robust those judgments are, and how indeed this goes ahead to set affairs of a democratic Nigeria. We'll hate that we have this, and then we see people protesting to UN. And then others who are calling for militants to wake up from their trenches and do what is uncalled for. And it's all because of judgment.
Or even telling the Chief Justice to resign.
All right, let's wrap up.
Yes, in every human society, there are diverse of interests. In order to make a society habitable for people, government or the society now create laws. The law now become the conscience or the yardstick for measurement of whatever interest. Nigeria is not an exception. Nigeria is governed by law. The law is what is used as a standard for measurement. It's not what a group of people think or what I think or what somebody thinks. Whatever actions that takes place within the context of Nigeria will be measured based on what the law says. And that is what I am saying in regard to Bayelsa issue. The law says if somebody, according to the court, you have determined that was not properly nominated, the next thing is you go by what the law says by ordering for a fresh election. Why that of Imo State? It is what the prayer that we pray before the court and what the electoral act says that they follow. Right. If you are not coming up with other issues, you think that I need to please you. I will not please you. I will state the
Thank you very much.
I don't know when was not
political analyst.
Confess to a sin.
Thank you on the show. You want another 30 minutes. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Professor Chief Andrew O.F.Femini, please.
To be validly declared a winner, 2 requirements are necessary. You must score the majority of the votes. I must have 2/3 spread, 1/4 and 2/3. In Imo State, after they overruled INEC, the governor today became majority winner, but did not have the spread. So it was not properly and validly elected, even by your constitution. That's very important. Now, and that's why we say, when we face situations like go to the people. The Bayelsa thing is very clear. The Supreme Court judgment did not respect the feeling of Bayelsa people in any way, and that's very dangerous. Democracy is about the people and never about just the cause. And that's why I'm pushing for comprehensive reforms that will rest the people power ultimately with the people. As for the youth, they should learn to organize, to conscientize themselves, and conscientize themselves to engage in political and economic struggles.
Right.
Like they did in other parts of the world.
Okay.
It's not by preaching. Right. They cannot pray themselves into freedom.
All right, Professor
Better
Chief.
by going to mosque or by going to church.
Prophet,
Their
thank you so
freedom
much.
will
We've
not
got
come
to-
that
we've
way.
got to wrap
They
up.
must organize for
Professor
change.
Andrew Efemini, Department of Philosophy,
Okay.
University of Port Harcourt. Thank you very much. Emmanuel Ndukwe.
Well, not even counting who truly won and who didn't. I have always consistently said this here that politicians of Nigerian stock are the same. PDP lost out in Imo. They call for the head of Tanko. But now, APC lost out.
And they're calling for...
No, they are not calling for anybody. They say it's the step in the right direction.
Oh, you mean
while
the PDP?
Tanko is still the head of the Supreme Court. So, let Nigerian politicians be displaying their character.
Thank you very much. It's time to go. Entertainment Express comes up next. I am Annie. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
You got a fetish for my love. Been waiting for a lifetime for
Listen to Entertainment Today
every weekday
at 11:30 a.m.
And I'm so I don't even mind over my loving you.
every weekday
at 11:30 a.m.
Only on Today 95.1 FM.
Voice of the people.
And the way you got me feeling, make me shouty oh Tito. Happiness, you give me happiness. This is not about the money, and it's not about the fame. Happiness, you give me happiness. Now the way you got me feeling, make me shouty oh Tito. Happiness, you give me happiness. You got a fetish for my love. Been waiting for a lifetime for.
Listen to Entertainment Today
every weekday
at 11:30 a.m.
And I'm so I don't even mind over my loving you.
every weekday
at 11:30 a.m.
Only on Today 95.1 FM.
Voice of the people.
Niger Delta militants vow to resume hostilities in region after removal of David Leon as governor-elect of Bayelsa State. Filling stations shut down operations in Port Harcourt over disagreement with security agencies. And on the foreign scene, murder trial of wife of Lesotho Prime Minister set to begin next month. And now, the details. President Muhammadu Buhari has assured that all government financial transactions will be done in the open. President Buhari said this while speaking at the passing out parade ceremony of the Detective Inspector course of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission at the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna State. He said he was delighted that his administration had reached the advanced stage in fiscal transparency, just as he noted that the appropriation bill is uplifting